All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to each and every one of you to this episode 5 of the Gaming Grifter. I'm probably not going to keep track of the episodes. I know for a fact I'm probably not going to keep track of the episodes, but from now on, for the foreseeable future, this will be the Friday show. Every single Friday, we will be discussing all of the gaming news that we've missed, some of the most important stories that we covered throughout the week, things that I think we should be expanding on a little bit more, that I couldn't really do in a video, because in videos, people tend to just want the information as quickly as possible, and also, of course, you guys don't get to chime in. In a video, you can just pretty much comment, and while I do read all of those comments, I don't think it's the same as being part of the conversation. So hopefully, this is a fun way of kind of bridging that gap and allowing everyone to watch and enjoy. But then, of course, I will also have stories that come on Friday, because on Fridays I don't have time to make videos. There's just so much else that I need to be taking care of. So before we get going, I want to say thank you to all of you for already being here, the absolute mad lads that were literally waiting for me to go live. I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much. But I really appreciate you all being here. So we have a jam-packed schedule for tonight. I say tonight. I know that most of you are not at nighttime, but I'm at nighttime, so it is tonight. We have Mike Darrah saying weird stuff, or Mark Darrah, rather, saying weird stuff. We're going to be reacting to his video. I have not watched his video yet. I've seen some people spoil stuff that he may or may not have said. I like to always get the full context before I make up my mind about how I feel about someone. But the topic, it's actually so perfect, because I wanted to make this live stream. I wanted to do this live stream for a long time. But it's been something that I've been really looking forward to, because I see so often we as gamers get blamed for things that we didn't start. Right? We didn't start the war between gamers and journalists and gamers and game developers, but we get blamed for it nonetheless. And I've been meaning to look this out, to hash this out and do a topic on it. And then suddenly Mark Darrah decides to make a video basically in line with this. So it's fate. We kind of have to do it now. Then we're going to be talking about Ubisoft and their financial collapse and what that might actually mean for the future of gaming. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Marvel Rivals layoff, just so that I can get your opinions. We're going to be talking about Elon Musk and him declaring war on the games industry. And there's a couple of other stories that we're going to be hashing out as well throughout the course of the next 2-3 hours, something like that. So I think all of you should be looking forward to that. Let's just quickly go down the list here. Thundercool, how you doing? TMB, Heshbala, how you doing, bro? Altervoz, how you doing? Tekla, how you doing? TMB, I think I did say hello to you. Antirak, how are you doing, sir? All right, so without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? So this is Mr. Mark Darrah. Mr. Mark Darrah, or Darrah, not sure how he wants to pronounce his name. He used to be at BioWare. He's made a couple of videos that I have watched and that I have thoroughly enjoyed, especially when he did his old video about the timeline of BioWare and how things had changed and shifted over the course of his being at BioWare, and then also him leaving BioWare ultimately. And then, of course, yesterday during the live stream, for those of you that don't know, I stream on Twitch also pretty much every day of the week, or as often as I can. You can follow me over there. But yesterday during the live stream, we were watching Exodus gameplay, or gameplay reveal with Carnage. And there you also have a bunch of ex-BioWare developers that are talking about this new game that they're making. And I'm saying this has nothing to do with the video, but it was so funny. Carnage asks him, you know, what kind of gamers would enjoy this? Like, what can we look forward to? What's the best thing that we can sort of compare to Exodus? And he says, well, you know, it's very much like Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, Dragon Age, Origins. Like, he makes sure to specify it is Dragon, but Origins, right? So the good Dragon Age. That's, if you liked those games, you'll probably love Exodus. So, you know, just wanted to throw that out there just as a reminder for all of you how far our good friends over at BioWare have actually fallen. But all right, so with all of that said, let's jump into it, shall we? The video is called Your $70 Doesn't Buy You Cruelty. I already have ideas about this, but as you can see, Mr. Mark Darrah is not doing too well. The dislike ratio on this video is not good, right? Gamers clearly did not respond well to his video, and they were very cruel to him. So apparently everyone just didn't read the title. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about it. I have no idea.
Did you read the title? Did it say something like your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel or unkind to the people that developed that game. Now, I'm going to be clear about something. I'm not saying that you have to like the thing you bought. I'm not saying even that you aren't allowed to complain about the thing you bought.
Okay.
You can have whatever opinion that you feel like towards a game. Even if that opinion is stupid and wrong, you are entitled to that opinion. And to some degree, you're entitled to express that opinion to the corporation, to the video game studio that created this game that you bought.
So just very quickly, as an aside here, my $70, short of real life threats or doxing or anything like that, my $70 buys me whatever the hell I want. I paid you. I paid you for a video game. Now, what developers often, and we'll watch the rest of this video, I'm open to changing my mind here, but what developers often don't understand is that the frustration gamers feel around their video games aren't out of nowhere, right? People don't, if developers were honest and said, hey, don't expect the deepest possible RPG here, we didn't go that deep on this, we didn't try to rival Skyrim or Witcher or any of these games. What we made here is sort of like a surface level, just fun combat simulator with light story sprinkled in. No one would have been angry at Avowed. We would all have known beforehand this is a piece of crap. But that's never how you developers market games to us. You market games as 16 times the detail, and it just works. And then we get the game, and it's not 16 times the detail, unless what you meant was it looks as if it's zoomed in at 16 times with a really crappy 3310 level camera, right? Then, okay, yes, it is 16 times the detail zoomed in, right? Or if you meant that it just works insofar as it doesn't work, then sure, maybe you weren't lying. But the frustration that people experience is as a result of, one, you decided to publish your game at a whopping $70. That, by the way, is a premium price. That's not $40. If I buy a game for $40 and I get some jank and I get Avowed, I'm not really too worried. It's just $40. Who really cares? Not that I like losing $40, but I can overlook a couple of mistakes here and there. When I buy a $70 Whopper, I want something that blows my balls off. I really want to feel like this was made worth it for me. If I buy $70 or I buy a $70 game and the game ends up being as deep as a puddle, I'm going to be annoyed, especially since you marketed the game as an RPG. You told me that this is a role-playing game. You made it look specifically like Skyrim. You even chose a lot of the magical effects to look like Skyrim. So clearly you were going after the Skyrim audience, and yet you couldn't be bothered to even have moving NPCs. You couldn't be bothered to make a game that doesn't crash every 5 minutes or just has this weird sort of scaling issue where you can set the world to different tiers in an RPG. Single player, by the way, we have a weird looter-shooter mechanic that just sort of hangs out, in this RPG. I was like, well, why? What the hell is this doing here? This is not what I'm signing up for. I get this in looter shooters, but not on a single-player RPG. So my $70, Mr. Mark, buys me whatever the hell I want, because you managed to trick me into giving you $70 for a product that wasn't worth it in the first place. But all right, let's see what he says. Let's get acquainted. I might change my mind if he can convince me.
You paid 70 of your own dollars for this game, and it disappointed you.
Yeah.
And you're angry about that.
Yeah.
That is fine. You are entitled to be angry about it. And you're entitled to express that anger in certain channels.
Okay.
If you are mad at that Ubisoft game, be mad at Ubisoft. Express your anger to Ubisoft or to the studio that made the game. But you cross a line when you start being cruel about it. So why am I saying you don't get to be cruel because you spent $70? Let's walk through it.
We have one problem here. Is he going to define what cruelty means? Because he just said you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be angry at the studio. You're allowed to be angry at the team that made it. But is he going to define what cruel means? Because if cruel rises to the level of you made a shit game, give him my money back, then you're not allowed to be angry suddenly, right?
One, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing? It's a video game.
Yeah.
You don't need to go out of your way to cause harm to other people because of a video game that.
All right, wait a second. Now we're crossing streams here. I thought we were talking about just online saying some mean stuff. Now we're causing harm. I fully agree. We shouldn't be physical, but you didn't even mention anything about physicality. Look, if a developer cannot handle someone saying a few mean things to them online, maybe they shouldn't be a developer in the first place. Or if they're going to be a developer, maybe they shouldn't hang out on social media. And what I would like to say, Mr. Mark, what I think you keep sort of, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to address it, but we will get there in time. But what you don't seem to mention or really care about, because none of you ever do, is the fact that it's usually you guys that start the cruelty towards us. It's you guys that start the nonsense of, oh yeah, this game isn't for you, this is a modern day. Look, for example, at Tales of the Shire. Best example right now out there. You have Tales of the Shire, a new game that's coming out, and you have a couple of people, of course, Smash JT and Vara Dark and those people, asking questions. They're asking, hey, what's the state of this game going to be? Who are you actually going to be targeting? Guess what they got for just asking questions? Just normal questions. They got blocked. On site, immediately. As soon as they're asked that block, get the hell out of here. Now, my question to that would be, what do gamers then need to do about that, right? If this is the response that we're getting just from asking genuinely straightforward questions, insofar as it is my money, you seem to forget. For a lot of people, $70 isn't just a throwaway amount. It's not as if they can just waste that $70 and don't care about it ever again. That $70 is a lot of money. And they want to know that if they're purchasing something for that $70 that they worked for, by the way, that they're giving to you, that it's actually going to equate to the value of the $70. So they have the outrage comes from the fact that they just wasted 70 of their dollars on your silly, stupid game.
That you don't like. Again, I'm not saying you're not allowed to be angry about it. I'm not saying you don't get to express your dissatisfaction with the content of the game that you're not enjoying.
Yeah.
But when you climb into someone's personal social media and start actively attacking that person, when you celebrate layoffs at a studio.
Excuse me? Let's hear what he has to say before I reply to this little nugget.
Because the game that you don't like didn't do that well. You're crossing a line into...
No, we're not. Dude, we're not. Like, bro, people are not celebrating layoffs from studios that are beloved. People aren't out here celebrating layoffs. If From Software suddenly announced that they're being laid off, gamers would be an uproar over it. Why the hell are you laying off a super successful studio that continues to deliver game after game after game, just banger, banger, banger? I wish people in the gaming industry would just take a step back and quickly examine the landscape that you have built. Because, Mr. Mark, you built this. We didn't. So let's quickly touch on the title for tonight's stream, shall we? Gamers didn't start this war, but we're ending it. Back in 2014, Gamers were happy. We were playing our video games. Game developers were superstars. We're talking Blizzard at BlizzCon would walk out on stage and you would have 3,000 Blizzard fans screaming their lungs out because Mr. Mike Morhaime is stepping on stage. You would have Chris Metzen going, "For the Horde," and people would be yelling, "For the Alliance." People would be yelling. Game developers were superstars. You were worshipped by us gamers because you were the guys that were making the games that we love. And then suddenly, a lady by the name of Anita Sarkeesian steps up on the plate. And she starts calling every gamer out there a racist, a homophobe, a misogynist, an evil person that shouldn't be allowed to play their video games. And rightfully so, gamers go, "Wait, what? Racist? I don't even have time to attend KKK meetings. What the hell are you talking about? I'm trying to kill some bosses and now suddenly I'm a misogynistic racist? I don't know what's going on here." And gamers rightfully assume that the developers will just laugh this off, would just sort of go, never mind. But suddenly, gamers see Anita Sarkeesian as being invited to all of these conferences where all of these game studios are. Game studios are suddenly very, very aware of toxic masculinity in video games and setting up all these programs to get rid of the toxicity in their own video games. And Zoe Quinn is paraded by the gaming industry as this voice for reason. And funnily enough, the gamers again think, okay, well, the media must have our back. These guys are gamers just like us. Oh, no. Gamers would wake up to find that, oh, shit, the media has turned on us as well, and we're just being raked over the coals as everyone just worships at the throne of our Anita Sarkeesian. And then she finally admits she doesn't even play video games. She doesn't play video games. She admits, loud, proud, on video. This was never about video games. This was always just about society and social change. But you guys don't walk back and go, "Oh shit, we've been had." No, you continue the grift. You continue to go. You continue to attack the gamers. For the last decade, gamers have endured attack after attack after attack from you people. And then when we finally go, "All right, you know what, enough," and we start clapping back, now suddenly, before the game launches, you guys are like, "Yeah, fuck you, man. Go get banked. It's not for you, bitch." And then your game fails, and guess what happens? Oh, these stupid, misogynistic, racist gamers that don't want to play our video game. And we're just over here going, we do what you said. We asked you, please don't do this to our game. You said, "Get banned, bitch." We said, "All right, well, why?" And you go, "Well, this isn't for you. Don't play it. If you don't like it, don't buy it." We do what you say. We don't buy it. And now suddenly we're the racists for not wanting to play the game that we said we don't want to play, and you said go get banked. We get banked, and now we're still to blame for this bullshit? Mr. Mark, we didn't start the war. We were happy with our video games. We were happy to hang out in Discord channels and just play games and have fun and nerd out over the most benign bullshit. We were happy to try and come up with that one build that could one-shot things. This made us happy. We didn't want to be part of this culture war. You drag us into it every single bloody cycle. Every single time a new game launches. Guess what? We're gonna deal with more DEI stuff. Gamers go, "Hey, could you please not put the DEI stuff in?" Go fuck yourself. All right, we'll just leave then. What happens? The game fails. We say, "Ha, we told you so." You go, "Oh, these misogynistic racists. And we're like, dude, come on, man. We said we don't want this. You didn't want to take it out of the game. Now your game is failing and you're being laid off. What do you want us to do? Of course we're celebrating it because you guys are destroying our games." Notice, by the way, that none of us celebrated the failure of Dustborn. We laughed. It was funny. I guarantee you, if the developers for the studio of Dustborn, of which I don't even know their names, by the way, if they announced tomorrow that they're doing all layoffs and the company is closing, no one would give a shit. I wouldn't even make that video because no one would click, because no one would know what the hell I'm talking about. Because it has nothing to do with us. But you bet your ass When EA announces that they're laying off the BioWare team that worked on Dragon Age the Veilguard, we're celebrating that. Why? Because at least there's a couple less people in the industry destroying the IPs that we care about. We didn't start this, Mr. Mark Darrah. We're just finishing it. We're just finishing it, good sir.
But you cross a line when you screw it. One, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing? It's a video game. You don't need to go out of your way to cause harm to other people because of a video game that you don't like. Again, I'm not saying you're not allowed to be angry about it. I'm not saying you don't get to express your dissatisfaction with the content of the game that you're not enjoying. But when you climb into someone's personal social media and start actively attacking.
Can I also just say, I have a huge problem with this personal social media bullshit. Guys, am I in the wrong here? When you're a developer for BioWare, and in your bio, it says lead developer on Mass Effect at BioWare. Views are my own. I don't believe views are my own means jack shit if you have in your bio that you're a developer for BioWare. Then your views, as far as I'm concerned, is not your own. This is not a private social media. This is public correspondence between the official channels of the game studio and the gamers. Because why else would you have it in your bio? Don't have it in your bio. Remove that. But every single one of these developers, in order to gain clout, have developer at BioWare, but then views on my own. In what way are your views your own? You literally told me this is where you work.
Thank you.
You're lying. Of course you're lying. Yeah, you are speaking for BioWare. Dude, every other person knows this. I used to work at a bottle store, and we had these in the bottle store. We had these outfits, right? Like uniforms. We had uniforms, right? It was a shirt with like the logo of the bar, of the bottle store, the liquor store, whatever you guys call it, and the name of the liquor store below it. I was told very specifically, I am not allowed to go out wearing this shirt. I mean, go to a bar, go out for a night out, or anything like that. I'm not allowed to do anything while wearing this uniform except go home. Because every action I take whilst wearing the uniform is an official action by an employee of the liquor store. This is the same for everyone that works in any business anywhere. If you're in uniform, that uniform ties you to the company, and the company doesn't want you to cause nonsense whilst wearing the uniform, because it reflects badly on them. So no, you don't have a private social media when you have developer at BioWare in your bio. That's no longer private. You are now an official spokesperson for BioWare, and your views do not equal your own. So when gamers want to attack you in your official capacity as a spokesperson for BioWare, they're well within the right to do so. Especially considering the fact that if I go through your history, I'll probably find you attacking the gamers at some point.
That person. When you celebrate layoffs at a studio because the game that you don't like didn't do that well, you're crossing a line into being cruel. And fundamentally, you should have more grace for other human beings. But if you're not buying that, let's go on to point 2. You don't know what caused the results that you don't like. Let's go.
I want to be clear here, right? So personally, I try to have grace for all people. And I will never wish death or hardship or anything like that on any human being, regardless of who they are, right? But when I want someone to be kicked out of the gaming industry, I'm not doing that to be mean to that person individually. I just don't think that that person belongs in the video game industry, because I don't think Corinne Bush knows how to make video games. I'm very worried about Corinne Bush now working for Wizards of the Coast, because I can already see that we are about to get one hell of a whopper in the near future from that studio, and it's not going to be good, right? So it's not a case of people wishing harm on an individual. It's the fact that we don't want this individual. Look, if this person wants to go into banking, that's maybe the perfect place for them, because it's a prerequisite in banking that you're hated by everyone. So go into banking or go sell insurance. Another one of those where you should be hated if you're selling insurance. No one likes those people. So there's a bunch of game developers that would be perfectly suited for those positions. And I hear most of them are constantly hiring. So, step right in and go have a whale of a time there. But stop destroying our video games. That's all we ask. Right? We are allowed to want that.
Through an example. Let's say that you don't like the line delivery on a piece of dialogue. Is that the fault of the voice actor? It might be, but it could be a lot of other things too. It might be the fault of the person who was directing that voice actor. Maybe they were given very specific instructions to deliver the line in this particular way. Maybe the writer who wrote that line wanted it delivered in this particular way, and the stage direction specified this particular line delivery. Maybe the recording equipment at the voice studio went down, and the only take they managed to get was this first one that was done just to set the tone, and they were just kind of out of time and stuck with it. So if you go and you start...
What do you... Okay, so first, the example he chooses here is such a fallacious example, because it happens to be the one example where he may have a point, right? But I also feel like most people don't attack the voice actor when a line feels just badly delivered. Most people just don't like it and they kind of move on and say this was pretty cringe. Most people don't attack over that kind of stuff. I've never seen anyone just attack someone because a voice line was weirdly delivered or some shit. So his example is very fallacious from the start. It's a dishonest example, because there are plenty of examples where people have been attacked, duly so, for places and areas within the game that they were purposefully involved in.
Start attacking the voice actor for a line delivery you don't like, it might not be them at all. It might be something else. Indeed, it might not be the line delivery at all. Maybe the problem was the writing. So should you go attack the writer?
Yep.
Well, no, because why was the line written in this way? Was it written this way because the writer had a specific thing they were trying to...
Notice what he's doing here, and I kind of think I know where we're going. Notice how he's moving the goalpost the whole time. So you can't attack the voice actor, wasn't their fault. Maybe it was the narrative director. But oops, no, it wasn't actually the narrative director. It could have been the writer. Can we attack the writer? No, because it couldn't have been the writer. Maybe it was the lead writer. Oh, can we attack the lead? No. You don't understand. The lead writer could also not have made this mistake on purpose. It could have been the team lead. Oh, okay. Can we attack the team lead? No. You don't understand. The team lead also only made this mistake because of the CEO, the suit, the millionaire, the billionaire at the top of the food chain. Why is he doing that? Because, everyone has this sort of built-in interest. I already know that's what he's going to say. I haven't watched this video yet, but I am convinced this is what he's going to say. He's going to say you can blame the CEOs. That's fine, because grace is not needed there. Remember, previously he said grace? Apparently grace isn't needed there. We can attack the CEOs because it's such an easy target. Because you say billionaire, and most people think, who do we kill? Who do we go after? I heard billionaire. I've got my guns. Where are we going? So it is such a nice way of just blaming the CEOs. I'm sorry, but okay, you used writing. I know for a fact, because I've spoken to enough developers in the AAA space. I have a developer that I spoke to that is a current writer for a AA studio, used to work in his studio. Used to work for his studio as a writer, right? Actually, they weren't a writer then, but they're a writer now. Do you want to know how often they saw Andrew Wilson? Just take a guess. Never. They've never met Andrew Wilson. That
I will do
never.
anything for money.
They knew Andrew Wilson was in charge.
Whoops.
But they've never
It
made
turns
it.
out no one is to blame.
So,
How convenient. I guess we all get a free pass because we are sleepwalking our jobs and churning out slop.
of course, free pass for everyone. It's the CEO's fault. But thanks for the 5, man. Really appreciate you. It's very interesting, right? When we get to... By the way, if you do super chats and if you do subscribe and stuff, I will absolutely thank everyone after this. Just so do your super chats. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support. I will reply to them so that I can do proper replies and not just sort of half-assed replies. So the thing is, Andrew Wilson is going to be to blame for a game being rushed, sure. Andrew Wilson might carry the blame for a team not having enough resources, sure. But very rarely is Andrew Wilson going to be blamed for just a badly written game. He had nothing to do with the writing. He's not a writer himself. He wouldn't have cared at all. So when you look at the writing and the story of Dragon Age The Veilguard, I guarantee you, I'll put my balls on the line. Andrew Wilson had nothing to do with the writing of Dragon Age The Veilguard. He probably didn't even know what the story of Dragon Age The Veilguard was up until the moment that the game launched. And then probably, like all other gamers, went, what is the shit? Fire all of them. Right? That's probably why it happened so quick. Because after he logged into the game, not to play, but just to check it out, he was like, this is nonsense. Fire all of them. They don't know what they're doing. Right? So, please, this guy's just, oh, man, I hate when devs do this. It's not us. It's them. And then if it's not them, it's someone else. But it's never us.
To say, maybe it was written this way because there was incredibly tight time pressures due to other externalities on their time. Maybe the direction of the game changed radically 3 months ago, and they had to rewrite this entire character in just 3 months. And you're just getting the first draft of that writing. Maybe the lead writer wanted this character to be in a specific way.
Can we blame him?
What the writer was able to do while they were writing this character. Maybe the creative director on the project had specific goals that they had in mind, and they were pushing the writing in a particular way or restricting how much leeway the writers had in order to express their vision on what the game was able to do or be. Maybe the executive producer, all of these people reporting up into the executive producer, decided that this game should be different in tone and was pushing the game direction in a different way. Or maybe the leadership of this project changed 6 times.
Maybe it was dinosaurs. I mean, if we're gonna just list all of the things that it could have been, maybe it was Trump. Trump called the lead writer, said something, really pissed him off, and he just wrote a bad script. Or JD Vance. We could blame JD Vance as well. I'm sure we could figure out, a bunch of new... Putin could have done it. While Putin was invading Ukraine, he was also sending really mean emails to the lead writer, and that really threw the lead writer off his game. And so that's how we ended up at Dragon Age The Veilguard. It's actually all to do with Putin. I'm sure Putin's name is somewhere in the credits for that game as well, because he did contribute all the bullshit. I don't know. Who can we not blame? Is there anyone that cannot be blamed for this? I know. Us. We had nothing to do with this. That's the one group in all of your maybes. We did nothing. We just lost $70 thanks to your bullshit. We don't care who it is or who it isn't. If you really feel like we need to know that, maybe share that information. But it's not on us. It wasn't our job to make the game in the first place. It was your job. You failed at it. We're angry now that we're out of $70. So all of this doesn't matter. What do you want us to do? Start an investigative journalistic piece expose style to figure out who we should actually blame for this nonsense?
And the direction changed 6 times, and you're getting little bits of writing from each of these different directions, and there was never adequate time to step back and rewrite it. Maybe the CEO of the entire company really wanted his nephew to be hired as a script consultant. And this guy with literally 0 experience was coming in and pushing for mandatory changes to the project.
Is he talking about Sweet Baby Inc? Because that might actually be how Sweet Baby Inc. got their big break. Have anyone ever checked if Kim Belair is related to someone in the gaming industry, like some CEO somewhere? Pretty sure this sounds like a personal, anecdote.
How realistic are all the things I just said? Some of them are incredibly realistic. Some of them not so realistic, but I've seen things that look an awful lot like all of the things I just said. So when you decided to personally attack that one specific person on social media, how certain are you that it was their fault, that they are responsible for that thing that you don't like?
Okay. This is something that I used to deal with this back when I covered World of Warcraft quite a lot, because I got the same level of nonsense. Why are you attacking the devs? This is so clearly Bobby Kotick's fault. But then, of course, Bobby Kotick leaves Blizzard, and Blizzard becomes even more greedy and more bad after Bobby Kotick leaves. So, was it Bobby Kotick's fault? Who knows? Who knows? No one can know, right? I'm just saying, the dudes from Destiny 2 also celebrate when they're finally leaving Activision because Bobby Kotick can no longer tell them what to do. And then they become even more greedy after they leave Activision and Bobby Kotick behind. So is it really Bobby Kotick, or is it actually just you guys that's super greedy and bastards? I don't know. I can't make that determination. Much like Mark here, I haven't started an investigative journalistic expedition to figure out who exactly is to blame for all of this stuff. But I do remember back in the days of Blizzard, I would run into this criticism all the time of people saying, don't attack the developers, attack the people that force these decisions. And my answer to this was always, the developers were the ones who ran defense for this game, even though full well knowing that this game isn't good. I'll give you an example. The developers for Dragon Age The Veilguard were all tweeting about how super excited they are for players to finally get their hands on Dragon Age The Veilguard. So they were literally providing free advertisement for a game that they full well, if they knew what they were doing, would understand that this is not a good game. This is not a good game, and no one should actually play this game. Now, I understand that a developer can't come out and say, guys, I worked on Dragon Age The Veilguard, and it is shit. You guys should not be playing it. They'd be fired tomorrow. So, of course, they're not going to do that. But if you actively marketed the game, if you actively tweeted about how amazing this game is now, you can't wait for players to play it, then you are culpable. You are responsible. You did it. Right? You were part of the reason I spent my money on this video game. Then attacking you is perfectly fine. You were the one who misled players. Purposefully. Because you cared more about your salary at the end of the month than actually earning that salary. You swindled a bunch of gamers out of $70, and now you expect nothing to come back on you. If I go, I'll put this in language that people understand. Let's say I buy into a pyramid scheme tomorrow, right? So let's say I buy into a meme coin. And now I tell all of you to also buy into the meme coin. I start tweeting out how cool this meme coin is. This is the next big thing. And now a bunch of you take all of your money and you start buying this meme coin. And then 2 weeks later, I start to realize these guys are going to rug pull. I sell out. I make a bunch of money, but a lot of you lose the money. Is it a viable defense for me to say, guys, these are my meme coin? I'm not the one that started the rug pull. I just tweeted a little bit about why are you guys angry at me? No. The second I started advertising the meme coin, I became part of it. Right? This was now my business as well. Then you guys attacking me would be perfectly in your right to do so. Note that no one attacks developers that they don't know anything about. Because there are a lot of developers who don't tweet all of these advertisements for the game coming out. There's a lot of developers who don't tweet publicly because they want to be left alone. They just want to make their video games. No one is attacking these people. But if you're going to be part of the PR campaign for the game, you're going to get burnt if that game isn't good because you are dishonest and you prioritized profits on behalf of the company over the integrity of you as a person and also the goodness of gamers everywhere. So, Mr. Mark, you have yet not convinced me. You're going to have to do a hell of a better job, and we're close to halfway through this video. I don't know if you're going to be able to get to a point at some point, but let's see. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's see if he can convince me later.
And I'm going to tell you right now, you shouldn't be certain because you don't know exactly what was going on within the project. You don't know the exact circumstances that resulted in that thing you didn't like. Even people who were on the project aren't always going to be absolutely certain on who is responsible for something being exactly a particular way.
Doesn't that mean that you're running a clown
I will
show?
do anything for money.
Like, if I'm working at a specific studio, right, and we're making a game, and the game comes out looking like ass, and I don't know who is to blame for this game looking like ass. Someone made a giant mistake here. Surely you should know who is to blame for making this game look as bad as it does.
These projects have hundreds of people on them.
Part of the problem.
Content moves around between multiple people.
Part of the problem.
Unless I am the person who is actually responsible for something being a certain way, that chain of custody isn't always going to be super obvious to me. And all of this isn't to say that you aren't allowed to have your own opinions, to not like the things you don't like.
Just don't say it.
It's specifically to point out that you being angry at a specific person, you attacking a specific person, is often misdirected. If you feel like you're just not getting the satisfaction from yelling at the corporate Twitter channel or yelling at the studio directly, if you feel like you need to focus it down onto an actual human being, I mean, that's really sad. I'm sorry. That's very sad. And hopefully you can grow beyond that. But I will give you a couple of outlets. If you need to complain at a human being, I'm going to say you don't get to go lower than the first person in the credits. You can go higher than that, but no lower than that. The first person in the credits is the person who was, theoretically at least, in charge of the project.
When Dragon Age the Veilguard failed, who did we blame? The first person in the credits. When World of Warcraft is failing, there were two people that were taking the blame consistently. Ian Azikostas, the first person in the credits, and what was his name? Steve Denuser, the lead narrative designer, because the story sucked. We were blaming the right people. In almost all scenarios, people blame the right people. When Fallout 76 sucked, people weren't blaming the random developers who worked on Fallout 76. People were blaming Mr. Todd Howard. When EA games suck, people blame Andrew Wilson. It is super rare that I will see a random staff writer that no one even knows about suddenly being raked over the coals by the gamers for their involvement in some video game. The only time I've ever seen that happen, and I'm happy to change my mind on this, but the only time I've ever seen that actually happen is when these developers insert themselves into the conversation and start to attack gamers. That's when these developers start to draw fire. It might come as a surprise to you, Mr. Mark, but most gamers don't have the first clue who makes their video games. If I were to go to 1,000 gamers right now and ask them, name all of the people that made Dragon Age the Veilguard, not a single one of them would be able to name many. Almost all of them would literally be able to name Corinne Bush, because he was the only dude that everyone ever saw and that everyone knew was an absolute piece of crap. Outside of that, no one else really got flack because we didn't know who the hell these people were, except for the ones that inserted themselves into the nonsense. So I'm not even sure what you're talking about. You're acting as if these small-time developers that just want to do their jobs are innocently being attacked by the gamers because somehow the gamers know who they are. The only time those developers get attacked is when those developers run their mouths on their official Twitter channels.
They are the person where at least some of the responsibility is going to lie. Now, did they have full control over what was going on in the project? No, because you could still have the CEO of the company forcing them to use his stupid nephew as a script consultant. But at the very least, they were in charge of the project for a somewhat significant percentage of the time. So if you are mad about Anthem and we look at the credits, no shit, that's me. But yeah, if you feel like you need to yell at somebody for the way that Anthem is, it's much better to be yelling at someone like me, who was theoretically in charge of the project, or at least in charge of the project for some of the development time, than yell.
Dude, this video is frustrating me a lot, actually. I am sitting here holding back quite a bit, because it genuinely feels like we're just playing hide the footsie at this point. He's playing this game of you can blame, you can be angry, but who are you going to be angry with? So basically, you can't be angry because you don't know who to be angry with. You know, what are you going to do? No one is responsible for any of the bad stuff that happened in the game, I guess.
Yelling at someone who was working on the combat or the level design or whatever.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't know exactly what their reality was.
Yeah.
When I was an executive producer, I got paid pretty well. And to some degree, from my perspective, some of that compensation was to act as a lightning rod for this negative discourse. It's one of the reasons why I think it is an executive producer's responsibility to have a social media presence. Because some of you, if you're still watching, will play a game and be angry about it and need to yell at a human being. And I think one of the executive producer's responsibilities is to protect his team. And part of protecting his team is providing that lightning rod. If you don't provide that lightning rod, then people who need to vent are going to find places to vent.
Yeah.
We live in a social media world. Many people have some form of social media presence. If you, as the most senior person on the project, don't have a social media presence, then people are going to go and find someone else. Someone who isn't paid as well as you. Someone who doesn't necessarily have the tools to protect themselves from the toxicity that is leveled at them. I would say again that you shouldn't be targeting people directly, even the executive producer. But you know what? If you feel the need,
Can't blame the developers. They had nothing to do with it. Can't blame the lead developer. He had nothing to do with it. Can't blame the executive producer. He had nothing to do with it. Can't really blame the CEO because it was his nephew. Dude, like, who is to blame? Genuinely, listening to this guy sounds like AAA development is an absolute shit show because nothing works. They don't know who does what. They have no idea. Like, it's sort of like, oh, well, we made this game. I'm not entirely sure who was in charge of the graphics. Some people wrote it, but I don't remember their names. I saw them at the office once, but then there were other people who started writing it, and they sort of just came and went. And there was a janitor at one point involved in it, but I can't remember his name. And it's like, how do you just make up the credits as you go along? Yeah, I saw all of these people sign in once upon a time. Just throw them in there. Let's get the shit going. Here's your credits. Let's go. It's like, dude, come on. Someone knows. There's always someone to blame for these failures. And gamers are not stupid. When we see a game that looks phenomenal, has amazing gameplay, has great graphics, but the writing sucks, it's the writers. Gamers aren't stupid. We don't have to go, well, maybe it could have been the animators. Why? Why did the animators write the fucking game? This makes no sense. Like, what are we talking about here? This is absolute nuts, listening to this guy.
the higher up in the organization you go, the more I'm going to say have at her. As you get beyond...
What happened to this whole have grace for people? Like, what?
on the executive producer, and you get up into studio leadership and group leadership and the C-suite and the person in charge of the entire corporation. They share responsibility in the game you don't like being the way that it is. So if you feel the need to yell at them, again, probably don't, but they're big boys and girls, so they should be able to handle it.
Why are you guys hiring kids at BioWare then? Are the other developers not big boys and girls? Does Canada not have child labor laws? Because I feel like Canada should have child labor laws. Hey, what's the difference? Why can't I attack the grown writer that wrote Tash's storyline?
The reality is, most of those people do not have a social media presence, do not have a way that you can yell at them directly. So a lot of times what I'm telling you is the least senior person you're allowed to yell at is the executive producer. And a lot of times the most senior person you're going to be able to yell at is the executive producer. So once again, the executive producer serves as a lightning rod for all this vitriol. If you feel like you're not being listened to when you complain on Metacritic or you complain on the forums of a studio or you complain into the social media channels of the publisher or the studio, be aware that this stuff is carefully scrutinized, not just by the social media teams, also by the teams themselves. Arguably, in a lot of cases, to too great of a degree. The team is listening, I would say often, too much to...
Did he just say the team is listening often too much? Bro, if that was true, the gaming industry wouldn't be on fire. Like, what is this man talking about? Guys, I think he's having a mental breakdown.
What you are yelling about and complaining about in these channels. But don't worry, you don't need to go onto their Twitter channel and yell at them directly because they're going to hear it anyway. Be a human being, have some empathy, and stop being cruel. Stop.
Where's this empathy talk? Like, when's he going to make a video talking about all of the developers that constantly attack players? Like, where's that empathy? Because I don't hear anything about that. It's just that the players need to have empathy for the developers. Why? I don't know them. It's not like I'm wishing death upon them. I just wish for them to be fired and not work in the gaming industry. That's not the same as not having empathy. That's me having empathy on myself. I don't ever want to see their video game again.
Stop throwing a party because a bunch of people lost their jobs. Because you don't know the circumstances that resulted in the thing that you're mad at. People deserve some grace. People deserve some empathy from you. And if you can't provide that, then stay off the internet completely. One last time for the cheap seats. You are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to be angry about a game that you bought. You paid good money.
Stupid down.
But try to remember that it's just a game. Even more importantly,
it's not just a game. If you launched your games for free, it would be just a game. People aren't getting angry because of a game. People are getting angry because it's their money being wasted on nonsense. That's why people are getting angry. Like, holy crap, bro. It's just a game is not an argument. If it was just a game, why are you making it? A lot of these games are so much more than that. When I think of Dragon Age the Veilguard, Dragon Age the Veilguard, or not Veilguard, but Dragon Age has been a part of my life since I was young. Like, I was a teenager, right? When I started playing Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 from BioWare, and then Dragon Age Origin comes out, and I am entrenched, I'm entranced with this game. It is such a good game. These games have meaning to us because we grew up with these games. These games have been with us. I'm not going to go so far as to say these games helped shape us. I'm aware that these weren't realities, but they were definitely a large part of us growing up. I used to nerd out with my friends about the storylines of Dragon Age Origins. Me and my brother used to spend hours talking about Morrigan and about her mother and about the dragons and the entire story of Dragon Age and how that's the games that got me into the place where I want to make my own video games, because I want to recreate the magic that those games offer. So when people get angry, they're getting angry because you're shitting all over their childhoods. You're destroying something that used to be super important to them, and then you act as if it's not important. It's just a game, bro. It's not just a game. To us, it's so much more than just a game. Dude, I know of people that take time off from work when there's a big game coming up that they look forward to. They take time off from work. That's how important it is to them that they get to play this game.
When you are expressing your complaints, stay away from cruelty. Stay away from targeting individual people. Stay away from trying to cause harm. Stay away from celebrating harm done to actual human beings.
What harm? What harm? Are we still talking about the layoffs? That's not harm, bro. That is actions. Say hello to your consequences. That's not harm. Like, holy shit. I am sick and tired of this nonsense. The modern world is so bloody twisted, where I don't want to suffer harm from my own consequences, from my own actions. What do you mean? If someone continuously fails at their job and they get fired, that's not their manager causing them harm. That's their manager letting them deal with the consequences of their own actions. This makes no sense when you say crap like that.
Express your opinion to the company that made your game. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like. Be specific. It will help you get games that are more like what you want. But when you are personally attacking individual devs, you are crossing a line. And you're probably attacking the wrong person anyway. A special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member, there is a link to that down in the description. We also have a Patreon if you are more comfortable supporting the channel in that way. Both Patreons and members get access to our community. So if you are interested in interacting with the community as a whole, that's an excellent way to do so. I'm not sure that I'm going to ask you to provide a comment on this video. We'll see what happens with these comments. If they go really toxic, then maybe I end up turning the comments off completely.
Yeah, because you last thing you want is people not agreeing with you.
In this video, probably not, because as I said, I have lots of experience interacting with toxic people. And I do recognize that some people do not have the level of maturity required to keep their toxic comments to themselves. So probably the comments stay open on this channel. If you have some positive things to say, I'd love to hear it. I will see you again soon. Thank you.
See, the biggest problem is what is harm? What is cruel? What is toxic? He doesn't define any of those things in this video. And of course, he doesn't define it. And it's very important to them that those things are never actually defined. Because once you define it, now you have to enforce it in that specific way. Where if you keep it open-ended, so you don't really go into detail about what those are, you can just, whatever you don't like, you can label as toxic and you can label as not really part of what you want to hear. But let's quickly see here. Making a bad product is one thing. That simply makes the product not sell. There's been plenty of bad games that fall into obscurity without a sliver of controversy to actually attack your consumer because you don't agree with their politics, while calling them racist, Nazis, chuds, bigots, etc. is when you're inviting the backlash that's fully deserved of many modern developers. True. He replied to this. Let's quickly see. I can't defend someone who is getting attacked back for their own comments, but this is far from the universal situation. Dude, this is literally the universal situation. Like, what is he talking about? This isn't the universal. This is genuinely mostly what happens. The developers attack, and then the gamers start attacking back. You know what? Credit where credit is due. The comment section is not turned off. vote with your wallet. Don't worry. We will, and we're already seeing the results. That's why game that come from Easton is taking over the market, because they knew one simple trick: happy player equals higher profits. Cool, he says. Okay, me finds a corpse of a rat inside a recently purchased cereal box. This guy, you don't know the whole story, so don't be angry about it. What did he say? He said, dislike something, express that dislike to the studio. But why are you crawling into someone's personal social media feed? If you need a human, look at the first few names in the credits. Dude, this guy's just claiming shit. Like, he's just claiming crap. Redo Beats, how you doing, bro? Really appreciate that. I'll check it out. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I was really hoping for more. I was really hoping for a bit more of a deep dive on his definitions of cruel, what that actually means, and how that actually... But he didn't do any of that stuff. He didn't do any of that stuff. He just sort of rattled off nonsense.
Oh, damn.
Which I don't know. You're a game developer and you can't even string a video together. This is absolutely crazy to me.
Oh, damn. Thank you.
Absolutely crazy to me. Bert Talk for 10 gifted subs. Ladies and gentlemen, we get some hearts in chat, please. Thank you so much for the support, man. It really, really is super appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then, of course, to Solon for the $1 donation. Really appreciate you, sir. Santa Clown and all these allies already rejected gamers in the name of their feel-good virtue signal. If you banish me, you have nothing to demand out of me anymore. I'm not your audience, never will. Absolutely in agreement with you there. Bird Talk. Whoops, it turns out no one is to blame. How convenient. I guess we all get a free pass because we are sleepwalking our jobs and churning out slop. Yeah, of course, you couldn't do that. If you did that, you'd be immediately fired from your job. So please don't even try that. But they can. They don't need to carry in any way, shape, or form the consequences of their own actions. Bait and switch. Patrick, yes. It seems like even his video was not... Nothing he says had any value. Because if you're going to talk about cruelty, that needs to be defined. What do you mean when you say cruel? If you're going to be talking about who to attack and who not to attack, you have to dive into a lot more detail about what exactly do you mean when you say attack. What he did was he made us... He operated on a presupposition. His presupposition is that poor little developers are being attacked for no reason by ugly, mean little gamers, and then just ran his entire video on that concept. It's the poor little developers. It is absolutely nuts. This guy turned himself into chatbot. He answers questions by copy-paste the same sentence. Waste of time. Some think he wants to grow social media. Who? This dude wants to... Well, he's probably going to have an audience. This must be done. Carry on as normal. True. Again, anything gifted? No hearts? Z-Vengeance, you're an asshole then. Paulo, how you doing, bro? Just consume product and get excited for next product. Yeah, to me, I've always said gamer or developers should actually be so grateful that there are so many gamers out there that have this passion for their games, because it means that they're going to buy the next game and the game after that and the game after that, right? So it's a good thing to see gamers with that level of passion. It's sad to see how we're being attacked. But all right, so on to the next topic for tonight. And we're going a little bit back to a video that I covered. I did cover this, but I sort of want to do this a bit live so that I can get your opinions on this as well. This is one of the reasons I want to do things live. So a lot of the topics are actually brand new, but some of the topics is stuff that I've already covered. But also, I want to get a bit more of a live reaction so I can see where you guys are and we can have a conversation about this stuff as well. So Ubisoft is in dire straits. Before we get into it, for those of you that didn't watch my video on it, I just quickly wanted to share with you just in how much shit Ubisoft is actually in. Mr. Guillemot is not doing well. So, Ubisoft's net bookings have plummeted by 51.8% year over year in quarter 3. They have also had, in the first 9 months, they have fallen 34.8% to just 944 million euros, right? That's total net bookings for the first 9 months. So this is a crazy, crazy drop already. Then you have digital net bookings have dropped by 33.8%, while player recurring investment, this is a key metric for live service games, have fallen by 33.7%. Now, and I know, Savan, you're in accounting. If any accountant were to look at this, they'd have a heart attack. Because this is really bad numbers. Like, you suck at everything. Like, nothing here is good in any way, shape, or form. But then we go into, this is the really scary thing with where Ubisoft is right now. So beyond these sales declines, Ubisoft is also drowning in debt, with its total debt to EBITDA rating sitting at a disastrous minus 20.1x. For context, a negative EBITDA means Ubisoft is losing money even before accounting for interest, taxes, and other expenses. So I googled what EBITDA means, and it's basically just an acronym, and it stands for that. So this is the amount of money that you have before taxes and expenses and interest. So all of the money that you get. You haven't paid anyone yet. How much money do you have? And how much money do you have to spend? They're currently sitting at 21.1x in the minus. So this means that even if Ubisoft stopped paying all of their interest, all of their loans, everything.
If I play a YouTube video,
they
can
couldn't
the
pay.
analytics tell if my audio is off?
They couldn't pay for. They couldn't pay their debts. That's how super, super bad this stuff is. But all right, so then you have Ubisoft financial target for for financial year 25 is to merely break even rather than turn a profit. But then they go into, and this is where things get really bizarre. So they go from being very optimistic about Shadows. Now, listen to the language here, because it's going to be super important. So Lords of Media, this is the overall. This is them getting all of the money that they have available versus how much debt they have to pay, right? The 21.9x means that's how much they're falling short. So that's everything. Revenue. They're falling short just on revenue. But here you have early previews have been positive. Listen to the spin. You have to understand here, they're talking to their own investors here. This is illegal, what Ubisoft is doing currently. You can't lie to investors. Listen to what I say. Early previews have been positive, praising its narrative and immersive experience. Who the hell has praised its narrative and immersive experience? With both characters playing critical roles in the game's storyline. We already know that's not true, because you can play the entire game without playing Yasuke. And then they also say here, in the game storyline, as well as the quality and complementarity of the gameplay provided by the dual protagonist approach. None of this actually happened. None of this has happened. But, you know, this is what they're saying to their investors. And then you have, for Star Wars Outlaws, now this will give you guys a great little chuckle. While the sales curve for Star Wars Outlaws improved throughout the holiday season, it wasn't enough to deliver on our expectations. But the game will be a long-time seller. Now, boys, I believe them. It's going to be a long... Let's just make sure. I don't want to say that it's going to be a long-time seller and then be wrong. So, Oh, that's going to be a tough, long-time sell. Even now, they're losing buyers. I mean, if by long-time seller, they mean they're going to be selling 1 or 2 copies a month for the next 100 years, then yeah, maybe it will be a long time seller. But right now, these numbers do not look good. These numbers do not look good for Star Wars Outlaws. So another lie. There's no indication right now in any of these, and this comes from someone that spends a lot of time looking at Steam charts, looking at game charts, and it's very difficult to read Steam charts because obviously it's based on how players react. But generally speaking, when you have games with what is referred to as a long tail, long-selling video games, what you expect to see is a massive jump at the start, right? Coming down, jumping again, coming down, and then usually from the coming down, it won't come down that far, and then it will just sort of slowly taper off towards the end. That's how you get to a long tail. Witcher 3 would be a brilliant example of what a long tail actually looks like. So if you go to Witcher 3 Steam charts and you go SteamDB, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, max, you can see here. So it has a massive jump right at the start, right? And then it tapers off, it goes, it jumps again, and you can see it doesn't taper off quite to the previous low. It tapers off a little bit. And then it continuously goes up, goes down, goes up, but it kind of stays in line. And I think here you had the first episode of the Witcher TV series. So now you have an artificial bump. So imagine if this Witcher didn't have the TV series. You wouldn't have these massive artificial jumps. But what you would have is, as you can see here, it's basically like a heart rate. It's very steady. It continuously jumps between like 20k and 30k, 20k and 30k, 20k and 30k. There's no indication that the game is actually dying, right? You wouldn't expect to see this chart on a long seller. This is what a long sell game looks like. Now, it is possible that Star Wars Outlaws could maybe be a long seller, but I would be surprised. Not based on this chart, at least. It didn't have nearly a big enough bump at the start. And even here, where they released the patch that fixed a lot of the bugs, it couldn't even beat the previous record. So clearly this game doesn't have any legs to it. No one is looking to really get into the game. In fact, I would go so far as to say most people have kind of moved on from the game. Most people aren't even looking at this game in any sort of way, shape, or form. So just another outright lie to their investors for no reason whatsoever. So they were asked by their developers, what's the level of gross cash that you expect at the end of the full year? And you mentioned 260 million of debt reimbursement in the calendar of 25. Do you confirm? And can you tell us which debt instrument you plan to reimburse next year? And they basically just danced around. They were like, oh, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about how all the ways in which we're actually doing really well. Now, the reason I bring this up and the reason I think this story is important, and this is what I didn't cover in my video, is Ubisoft is caught between a rock and a very hard place. You see, because Ubisoft currently, they're buying time. The reason Assassin's Creed was postponed to the 20th of March isn't because of Monster Hunter. It has nothing to do with anything like that. I also don't believe that Assassin's Creed Shadows was originally pushed back because they were making fixes on the game. They're buying time. Because we know that Ubisoft and Tencent are in talks for Tencent to basically buy the debt of Ubisoft. Ubisoft is trying to hold on to what little strength in their position there is left to negotiate from. Because what Ubisoft wants Tencent to buy the debt, but then allow for the Guillemot family to continue to run Ubisoft. That's the deal. Tencent doesn't want that deal. Tencent basically said, no, we want Ubisoft, but we want to be able to control who runs the company, and we want a seat on the board, right? So they want to be able to make decisions over who runs the company and what decisions get made. Ubisoft doesn't want that. So from Ubisoft's perspective, they're buying time, hoping that Tencent buys them out before Assassin's Creed Shadow launches, because Ubisoft themselves, and this is speculation, but I think I'm correct on this, Ubisoft themselves know that this is going to be a giant failure. If this game fails, what little strength they had left to negotiate from is gone. There's no more strength. You have a studio that is in dire debt. The debt situation is such that they cannot even pay back the interest on the debt anymore. Because remember, all of this should come at the... So if we go back into the article, just so that you guys see what their current earnings are for quarter 3. Right, so you can see here, they've plummeted by falling 34.8% to just 944 million. This is for the first 9 months of financial year 25. Ubisoft's debt, the amount of money that Ubisoft owes currently is $1.4 billion. That's how much they owe. This is revenue, right? 944 million euros in revenue. So if you pay all of the almost 20,000 developers that work for Ubisoft, and you pay all of the other things, there's very little money left to actually service that debt. Tencent knows this. So from Tencent's perspective, they're waiting for Assassin's Creed Shadows to launch, because Tencent knows the second Shadows launches, it's over. They can move in and they can buy Ubisoft to pennies, cents to the dollar. And they're getting a full-blown studio with a bunch of really valuable IPs that they can sell off. So basically, Ubisoft and Tencent is playing a game of mouse, a game of chicken. They're sort of waiting to see who blinks first. And I hate to say it, Tencent is in a better position. Tencent doesn't have to do anything. They can just wait for this ship to crash into the rocks and drag the whole company down with it. They'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Yeah, Tencent will just wait, I know. Why would Tencent play this fast and loose? They have nothing to lose, only everything to gain. So I do think Ubisoft will be sold within the next year. I think Tencent will come in and buy it. I sort of hate to say this, but I don't think Ubisoft is going to continue to survive. If anything, I think what Tencent will do is they'll basically buy Ubisoft just for the IPs. And then they'll go to all of the other studios that Tencent own, and they'll just have those studios make games with those IPs. So you'll probably get an Assassin's Creed game that isn't made by Ubisoft, but made by some other studio out there. Because I think from Tencent's position, they already have super talented developers working for them. Why do they need to stick around with this company that clearly doesn't know how to run themselves? So that's sort of my prediction, at least at the moment. And then, William, thank you so much for the $5, sir. Really appreciate you. If I play a YouTube video, can the analytics tell if my audio is off? William, yes. But there is a way to do it where the analytics can't tell. So what you want to do, if you're, if you are so inclined, so let's say I go on YouTube here. And let's say I watch this video, right?
Some coffee and
if I do that, so if I click that little, on some browsers, you have to open this and say mute tab. If you mute the tab, YouTube thinks you're watching the video, because according to YouTube, there's audio coming through, everything's going fine, but the tab is muted. So you're not hearing it, but the tab is going. So if you do want to watch someone's video, but you just want to do it to support them, that's the best way to do it. And yeah, some people use that for Twitch drops. Just mute the tab and you're farming the Twitch drop automatically. So yeah, there are ways to do that. Thanks for the 5, man. Really appreciate the support. Why do people praise Tencent? They are buying up games same way how the CCP is buying up American land. It's not a good thing. Why are people so retarded to not see this? So, Highest Darkness, no one is praising Tencent. At least I'm not praising Tencent. But if I have to choose between Ubisoft surviving and Ubisoft failing, I'm always going to choose Ubisoft failing. Ubisoft having a bad day is a good day for me. We just watched Mark Darrah explain why we shouldn't be cruel, and here I am cruel man as I am, celebrating the loss of nearly 20,000 developers' jobs, because you know what? What are you supposed to do? Sometimes a fire is needed for new life to grow. It's sad, it sounds terrible, but sometimes forest fires are required because they burn away the overgrowth, they burn away the nonsense, they burn away the fat, and they keep the good stuff. That's just the nature of the beast. There's nothing I can do to change that. The point is, the last good game Ubisoft made is more than a decade ago. I don't think a studio like that deserves to stick around, and my hope is, and I realize that this isn't necessarily always going to be the case.
I was thinking it was the opposite. Would Tencent benefit from the small profit of AC Shadows? If AC/S releases before Tencent buys Ubisoft, wouldn't the Ubisoft execs get paid, not Tencent execs?
Bertok, no, because right now the debt is such that even for AC Shadows to perform well enough so that the Guillemets can actually get payouts, it would need to be one of the largest games that's ever released. All right, like AC Shadows would need to sell something like, I think we're looking 15 to 50 million copies in like the first week. Because remember, right now, AC Shadows doesn't just need to make its own production money back, which is probably 250, 300, maybe even 400 million at this point. Not only does it need to make all of that money back, it then also has to make $1.4 billion on the upswing. So now you're starting to maybe look more towards almost 100 million copies if you start to include the 15% and all the other hidden costs in video gaming. So you're starting to look at a game that is so large, no other game has ever sold that well. I don't see Assassin's Creed Shadows reaching those sales numbers in any way, shape, or form. My opinion is Splinter Cell is their only decent IP, and it's being neglected. There's so many. Me and Ruricon, we did a podcast today, but also Bird Talk, thanks for the $10. Really appreciate the support. Thank you so much, sir. Me and Ruricon were reminiscing today about, well, we were actually a little angry, but we were also reminiscing about all of the games that should get remakes, but never gets remade. You know, I think like games like Siphon Filter. Do you guys remember Siphon Filter? Is there anyone here that actually knows or remembers Siphon Filter? I don't give a fuck about Workday, man. Saving. Did you notice how we replied to every single comment someone posted? Yeah, X, I saw that. It's very awkward when people do that. But I think he thinks he's fighting the good fight on behalf of someone. I don't know who. Someone probably insulted his crush, and now he's on a personal mission. I don't know. Was it John Splinter Cell? No. Siphon Filter was phenomenal. Like, Siphon Filter was such a good game. Just no remake ever. Like, no remake in sight. Dragon Age Origins. No remake whatsoever. The game's just sitting there. There's not even a patch that brings it in line with modern day machines. It's just sort of sitting there gathering dust. But then we get a remake of Horizon Zero Dawn. We get a remake of Last of Us 1. And even Last of Us 2 is now rumored to have a remake. I'm just sitting here doing, bro, what are we doing? Where's the good game? Like, why aren't we remaking all of these good games? Like, why are we constantly remaking games that don't even deserve remakes? I don't understand. What the hell is this? Oh, it annoys me, dude. I'd want Bloodborne remastered, but DS2 deserves a remake to fix many problems. I have a story about that later today. But later I have a story about a potential sequel for Bloodborne. Damazal, how you doing? Personally, I think remakes for games that launched in the last 10 years should be rejected by gamers en masse. I don't think those games should exist. I don't think there's any reason those games should exist. The point is, if your game was made in the last 10 maybe even so far as 15 years back, still has good enough graphics. It's still probably running just fine. You can do a couple of patches just to make sure that it runs on modern machines, but that's the end of it. I don't think that you should be remaking those games. When you get to a point where, like Dragon Age Origins, like the Mass Effect games, there it makes sense, right? Because those games were old, they were really dated. But I mean, really, Last of Us 1? Like, when I look at the difference in graphics between Last of Us 1 and its remaster, it's genuinely one of those things where it looks different when you squint. If anything, it looks worse, in the remaster in some places. So it's just like, come on, man. We don't need these remasters. The endless remasters of games that isn't old enough to really warrant them. Some fantastic mob private servers out there. I'm dragging myself through work, fighting the good fight. Hey, oh yeah, definitely way too soon to remake those. I figured they would just restart the old X-Packs, not resell them. It is quite annoying to try to get DA Origins to work on Steam. Hey, Darkness, you're telling me. I still can't play DA Origins on stream because there's one door that I need to go through in order to get the main storyline going. And if I touch that door, my game bombs. And I have tried everything. That door will not go through. And when I go online and I actually look, everyone says it's because the game was made to only work on single-threaded CPUs. And because I have a multi-threaded CPU, it triggers the other threads, and now the game doesn't know how it works, and so it bombs. And I'm just like, oh. And then there's actually people that were autistic enough to figure out how to turn their threads off just so that they can play the game. And I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that. Like, come on, please. I'm not shutting down threads just so that I can play a stupid old game. Just release a patch that makes the game run on modern day machines. Slovakia, how you doing, bro? Think remastering is simply just a scam to sell the game twice. They tweak the graphics a bit and back to full price we go. You know who I actually do respect in this? And I realize in the woke space, this is a studio that we're all very worried about. But I do actually respect CD Projekt Red in this. You know, CD Projekt Red remastered Witcher 3. They did a full graphics overhaul for Witcher 3. Basically updated it for the newest PlayStation and Xbox. For free. It was just a patch. You download the patch, the graphics are upgraded. They even added quest lines for the Witcher show that came out. All for free. It's all just baked into the original price of the game. I respect that. We should get more studios like that. A real gamer would turn off threads. Those of me, I have no interest in turning off threads and starting to screw around with that. Technically, yeah, because I know it's technically a next-gen update, but it did make the graphics nicer. And to be fair, Witcher 3 doesn't need a full-blown remake yet. But I mean, even a technical update, most gamers would be super happy just with a technical update for their favorite games. Because I'm not playing Mass Effect expecting Cyberpunk level graphics, right? No, I'm not. I don't want Cyberpunk level graphics in Mass Effect. Well, I do, but I don't expect it. What I just want is for Mass Effect to actually run on my new machine. What I want is for Dragon Age Origins to run on my newer machines, not to bomb out the whole time. You know, so that's sort of I think, the issue for me. You like the Psycho Eyes? Don't lie. Well, I think Mass Effect looks phenomenal. In my personal opinion, I think it looks phenomenal. The Escape Pirate just beat Avowed on Steam concurrent count? No. Dude, that game is it's so nonsense. We're going to be talking about AI games in a second. But that game is just nonsense. Mr. Nightfish, how you doing, bro? I would just be happy if you could play the game. Never mind the update. I was trying to play Far Cry 3 and I can't even get into the game because there is something wrong with the silly Ubisoft launch. Ubisoft is a problem, man. Ubisoft is always a problem. All right, so next story for the night. And here, we're not really going to be doing a story. I just want to ask your opinion on this. This is genuinely just me wanting to get your opinion on this. This isn't a story. I already made the video on this. You can go watch the video if you want. What do you guys think of this? Oh, wait. You guys are talking about Yakuza. Oh, I thought you were talking about the Yasuke Simulator bloody game. Sorry, I just read Yaz and I was like, oh man, are we still talking about the Yasuke Simulator game? I did not think that we were talking about Yakuza. I've never played a Yakuza game, but I'm happy that it's beating Avowed. Dude, there's a couple of studios right now. Like, basically, if you are working for a studio that has any DI in your name, please know I am rooting for your downfall. You should just know this. If I go on your website and I see a single mention of inclusion, diversity, or equity, I am rooting for your downfall. I will celebrate every single time you lose. Despite, I'm sorry, Mr. Mark, I realize you don't want me to be mean, but it has to be said. I celebrate your downfall. I think the layoffs are localization, short role employees. People jump the gun and are retarded and trying to review bomb the game. Yasuke Simulator is already on my wish list. Sorry, that's going to be funny. Guys, imagine if Yasuke Simulator breaks Assassin's Creed Shadows records on launch day. Imagine if more people play Yasuke Simulator than people play AC Shadows. The head of team, yes, it was a complete nothing burger. You're absolutely correct. This was a nothing burger. But what's interesting to me, I wonder if I actually have her tweet. I think I responded to her tweet. Let me just quickly see if I responded to her tweet. Oh, did you guys see this? The demo is live now, by the way. We're going to be playing this tomorrow on Twitch. In case you guys wanted to check it out. It's Alasta 2. We'll be checking it out tomorrow on Twitch. For those of you that's interested in it. But the demo is live, so you can just go download it and check it out. The demo is live right now, so you can literally be playing it right now. They did say, though, be very, very careful when you play it. There's no way to resurrect in the demo. So if you lose a party member, that party member is dead. Think of it, Nagria, think of it as Baldur's Gate 3. Basically exactly the same game. Same style of combat, same style of everything. It's Baldur's Gate 3. I'll show you.
Fancy seeing you here. Welcome to Torwen.
Who's this Jabori you're so worried about?
I haven't heard from him for too long. I've got a bad feeling.
Everyone look! Swimming under the bridge.
Careful, I heard something.
I think it looks good.
Who feels like a little chat with the critters? Perhaps we can help each other.
Don't bother us! We don't bother you!
Are you Jabori?
Can you help me?
I think it looks good. It looks like a good game. We'll have to see with the story. I don't know what the story is going to be. I have no idea. But it looks like a good game, at least. Walked away for 2 minutes and the whole browser tab just crashed. Oh, shit, Chris. Wait, I thought I was watching an ad? No. No. I'm just quickly trying to see... where did I reply to this? Let's see if I can find... it's of course, everyone's favorite journalist, the one that's like a proper journalist, not like Smash and all the others like us, the YouTube journalists that don't know how to do journalism because we don't check our facts and stuff. She made a tweet about this story that is just the perfect example of how journalists do things. She tweets a lot as well. I don't like people that tweet a lot. Why are you tweeting a lot? Holy crap. Do some people just not have jobs? Like, what is this with... I mean, I don't have the time. Like, how do people find time to tweet this much? Just want to see her, like, because she made a tweet about this, unless she removed it after she realized that, oh, never mind, I'm actually just purporting false information here. Oh, so here you have it, right? So this is now, remember, this is the journalists. This is the journalists that are doing the actual reporting, because they're the ones who search for the information and find the correct information, because they're journalists, right? Unlike us YouTubers who just report whatever. And here you have the news breaking of the NetEase laid off Marvel Rivals director and his team, which is obviously nonsense. We all know that this isn't true. Here is your favorite journalist fact-checking everything, never allowing any sort of false news or fake news to get by her. Even successful game devs are not safe because the problems are at the top. I've reached out for confirmation and details. And then she says, I've pinged PR about this, but at least one former team member declined to comment. So at no point, as you can see here she tweets about Smash, by the way. This is what she tweets. Literally, you can't make this up. She tweets, it's about ethics in games journalism. Ethics. What ethics? You were not even willing to do 2 minutes of research on this. I woke up to this news all over my feed and I went, holy shit, wait, what? The entire Marvel Rivals studio was laid off? How? This game is super successful. And then what did I do? I went on Google and I typed Marvel Rivals studio layoffs. And right there, first thing was the clarification that this was a support studio in Seattle. It had nothing to do with the actual studio in China. This is just part of a sort of technical overhaul of how they make their games. This studio was just not necessary. They had no reason for the studio to exist. This is the kind of stuff that you see from these fake... I know me and Rurikon have difference of opinion here, but in my opinion, journalism is going the way of the dodo bird. I genuinely believe it. I believe that games journalism is dying. I don't think there's really a need for games journalism anymore. What once may have been considered useful, I think most jobs the journalists used to do can now just be done by us, YouTubers. Right? Like, let's be real. Most of you come to us and what we do is we find the information and we relay it to you. More and more these days, a lot of the information I find is on Twitter, is from someone on Twitter saying something, some game developer dropping something, or just insiders that reveal stuff to me. I don't really need the media in order to cover most of the videos that I make, and that's going to continue to happen. I don't think games journalism is going to be around for a very long time, and you know what? Here's another one of those actions meet your consequences. Kante, she is a journalist. Happy, how you doing, bro? Games journalists destroyed themselves, so YouTubers decided to become the fix for the broken job. They really did destroy themselves. If they ever want to do some introspection as to what went wrong, they too can go back to 2014. Because guess what? Even after the whole backing Anita Sarkeesian to the hilt, when it finally came out that Anita Sarkeesian was a giant grifter, guess who never posted a single retraction of anything that they ever said? The journalists, your trusted source of news. Not a single word about Anita Sarkeesian basically grifting the entire games industry out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Many jobs can be done without the appropriate education, but should they? I can lay bricks. Let's go. Nagria, so my question here would be, so firstly, bricklayers in South Africa don't get an education because it's just bricklaying. The people that need the education would be the engineers and the architects. We no longer need
the high priests of journalism to intercede with the truth for us.
Thanks for the 5, man. I'll respond to your super chat in a second. But there are certain jobs for which you need an education. I would argue journalism is not one of them. Anyone with passion for journalism, anyone with a passion for finding information can be a journalist. There's no reason. This isn't like a medical doctor. You need a medical doctor to have an education because they need to know all the ways in which they can kill you so that they don't do those things. Right? But a journalist, why do you need an education for that? They only have big names, but nothing for gamers. And the YouTubers are the trusted source now. I do think people should still be... I think us YouTubers can do a better job of not necessarily portraying ourselves as the trusted source, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I try to be as honest and as thorough as is humanly possible. I don't just jump the gun and cover stories as quickly as possible. I really try and do my research so that when I bring you a video, I have all of the information available. But I'm just one dude, right? I don't have a team of people that I can say I work with that fact check everything and make sure that everything is on the level, so to speak. So that's why I try to always present my videos in the way that you understand this is as true as I can guarantee it. Like, I can't guarantee that this is the truth because there might be things that I completely missed because the internet's large and the information is everywhere. But this is the truth as I understand it at the moment. I do think that there's some YouTubers that sort of make themselves out to be absolutely the voice of truth. And I think that becomes dangerous, not because I think they're lying, but I think because when you do finally lie, the damage that you do can be great. So you want to be careful not to play too much into your own ego, so to speak, because it is an ego thing. You know, it is. I'll be honest with you. When you get that first few emails from insiders, there's a massive ego boost. You do feel super important. You're like, oh, shit. Insiders are reaching out to me. Holy crap, this is cool. I must be someone important. And then luckily, I have a bunch of family members around me that go, shut the hell up, bitch. And I go, okay, I'm not important at all. So that does help, right? But fundamentally, it is important, I think, that YouTubers not make themselves out to be too important, but that viewers also understand, you know, don't make YouTubers into too much of an important thing because, you know, people make mistakes. Problem is, most YouTubers are paid shills. Look at Luke Stevens shilling the F out of Star Wars Outlaws. I don't know if I'm willing to say that YouTubers are paid shills. I do think there are a lot of YouTubers that are paid shills. To be fair, I'm not suggesting that there aren't, but I think there's also there's another way in which YouTubers get paid that isn't straight up just being paid. Access journalism is a huge thing. You see, when you do reviews for video games, if you do a good job and you're a really good reviewer and you have a really big following, you get invited to a lot of really cool places. Like you get invited 6-7 months, a year before the game goes live to press release events where you get to play the game early. And obviously being able to make videos on a game a year before anyone else even gets to see it, that's amazing for your channel. The amount of money you can make when you're on that list. I'll give you guys an example. Back when I did World of Warcraft stuff, for a while, I was they called it the preferred content creators for Blizzard, right? So I was a preferred content creator. This basically just meant that whenever a new story was about to break, so let's say Blizzard was about to announce something big, I would usually find out about it an hour or two before it breaks. So I'd be sent an email, say 2 or 3 hours before the news comes out, with the news that they're about to announce. So they'll send me an email saying, listen here, we're going to announce this thing. This would mean that I'm able to make my video, upload it, and get it ready way before the announcement even happens. So by the time the announcement hits, my video is already ready. So what people used to do, they would make their videos, and then they would wait like 10-20 minutes to upload their... Ooh, guys, did you see this news? Just so that it doesn't look suspicious. Because Blizzard did tell you, don't make it look too obvious that you got the news before everyone else. But this was just... this was a perk. And then, of course, I made the mistake of being honest about how I felt about WoW. And those perks disappeared quick. Like, super quick. Because I started to criticize WoW because it wasn't doing a good job. It was a shit game at the time. I even have this. This was sent to me by Blizzard. Just before Shadowlands launch. They sent me the collector's edition of Shadowlands because I was a preferred content creator. And then Shadowlands was bad. And I said, this is a shit game. And they never even emailed me to say that I'm no longer a preferred content creator. They just stopped sending me emails. And then I replied, or I sent them an email once and I was like, hey, why am I no longer getting emails? And just dead silence. And eventually I contacted my rep. And he was like, oh, yeah, you're no longer getting shit. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. Yeah, so it does happen. But that access is nice. If I remained in the program, I would eventually be invited to BlizzCon. This was told to me ahead of time. If I remain in the program and I do a really good job and they like what I do, I'll be invited to BlizzCon. It can go so far as your tickets get paid to go to BlizzCon. Right, so there's a bunch of perks to being in the good graces of the games industry. This sometimes leads to what people refer to as self-censorship. So it's not so much that they're being paid to shill for certain games. It's more that even though I don't like the game, I don't want to be too mean. Right? I don't want to be too mean to the game. Because, you know, I don't want to lose the perks. And so you try to balance your approach. You say some negative things about the game, but you don't go all in on the negativity. So you kind of balance between these two things. And that gets you to the right spot, right? Where they're okay because they'll never tell you must always be super positive. They'll never say that because they know then you're going to lose credibility. So they don't mind if you criticize, but you have to criticize nicely. And I wasn't criticizing nicely. I called the game director a C word live on stream multiple times. Like multiple times. Because he kept gaslighting us. He kept saying things and I just kept going, dude, what are you talking about? This is not at all what's going on here. So, yeah. Like whatever we do. Good job being like whatever we do. Yeah. Paris Chili avowed as a 9.5 out of 10. Wife and how you doing? They're not paid to shill. They shill to be paid. The good old days. Taliesin, is that you? You got banished from Blizz. Now we won at least. Nazur. I mean, I'm not banished from Blizzard. I genuinely just decided I can't in good faith keep covering World of Warcraft. Not knowing my stance on the current politicization of video games. I cannot ignore the politics of World of Warcraft. And then I asked myself a question, because originally I was going to start making videos calling out the nonsense politics in World of Warcraft. But I've done that before. And I know what happens. WoW is too far left. There's no point in talking about the politics in World of Warcraft. Majority of WoW players are super far left wing. They don't care. They celebrate this stuff. They want more woke stuff in World of Warcraft. So I just made the decision. It's time to leave. Nagria, I'm not suggesting, I lost access because I didn't do anything wrong. I've never, ever, even when I announced that I'm no longer a preferred partner for Blizzard, I took full responsibility. And I still do. But I stand by every single thing I said. The game was really bad, and the lead developer, Ian Hazikostas, was gaslighting the player base into thinking the game isn't that bad, right? It's just us that somehow expecting more than what they can deliver. So I stand by everything I said, but I fully understand that Blizzard would cut ties with me, and I'm fine with that. I don't care, right? From my perspective, they should not have gaslit the player base in the way that they did, and my job has always been to represent my viewers, not some company. I couldn't care less if no game studio ever want to deal with me, talk to me, or send me game keys. I can buy my own games. I as long as I know I can go to sleep at night and my viewers know that I have integrity and I always tell the truth as I understand it, I'm happy. That's I did my job. I can go to sleep and I can feel good. Olive, will you play Season 2 of The War Within? Do you think The War Within is better or worse when it comes to politics? It's worse than any of the others. It's sort of... The War Within, as far as I'm concerned, Olive, is the culmination of all things political in World of Warcraft. Just go through the story of The War Within. You have every single male hero be replaced by a female hero. The whole storyline is just how all the male heroes die off or retire and female leaders come in. So many storylines of how the female leadership are so much more intelligent and cunning than the male leadership. And right now we need the strength of female leadership. You have Anduin's storyline that, I mean, not only did they completely emasculate. Is that the word? Emasculate? What's the word? I think that's the right word in English. Anduin Wrynn, but they basically castrated Anduin Wrynn. Also, the storyline with Turalian, where Illyria legitimately treats Turalian is like a little lapdog. He's like a little... like those little lap dogs that always just sit on a pillow on your lap. He's like that with Illyria. Completely cucked out of his mind. And if it was one thing that was happening in isolation, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But it's all of it. And you just go, dude, what happened? As far as I'm concerned, World of Warcraft has always been one of the most inclusive games in the gaming industry. You wanted powerful females? You had powerful females. You had Tyrande, you had Sylvanas, you had Jaina. What's her name? Not Kalia. Oh, man. the chick that's Blood Elf, but on the Alliance side. Can't remember her name now. You had her. You had super strong, super cool female characters. You had super cool male characters. And these were masculine, bloody men. They were like proper men. You know, and all of that has gone. All of that is just gone because somehow World of Warcraft decided they're not inclusive enough and they should be more inclusive. And that, of course, means get rid of all the men and just have all of these female leads running around. So, you know, it is what it is. The only part that really made me cringe was when Illyria shot the Dark Heart with an arrow in the most obvious way possible, and it just made Xal'atath look really stupid and incompetent. They're doing the same with Silver Surfer. It's going to be played by a woman now. Yeah, but remember, you have to remember, in the woke war that we are in, the evolution of wokeness went from we just want to be seen to we want to be represented to no more white men. Most gamers were fine with the we just want to be seen. We were like, who gives a shit? Yeah, sure. You know, put gay characters in the games, no one cares. Then we want to be represented. So now we want to be like, we want lots of characters that look like us, and we want lots of this and lots of that and lots of everything. And gamers still were mostly like, yeah, all right, fine, who cares? You know, everyone wants to play video games, it's all good. And then they went, let's replace all white men. And that's when gamers went, wait, what? Dude, why? We are the ones buying the games. What the hell is going on here? So from my perspective, it's going to continue to go until it crash and burns. That's really as much as I can see this going. I had to explain this to my son last night. He didn't realize how inclusion warped into only them and excluded all else. Showed him how hard it is to toe a rational line. Where did you get the information that they hate him? That who hates who? Give us back, cool done. Now you know that a lot of people inside of Blizzard hate Chris Metzen. Do you believe Chris Metzen will change this in midnight, or he support woke? I don't think Chris Metzen has any power to change anything. I think Chris Metzen is surrounded and stuck in a super, super woke studio. I don't think there's any shot that Chris Metzen changes anything. It's just not going to happen. Bird Talk with the $5. Really appreciate you, sir. Thanks to the internet, we no longer need the high priests of journalism to intercede with the truth for us. True. It's not just in games. I'll reference 2019's annual resurgence of the female Space Marines debate in the Warhammer community. The journos who were writing pieces on it clearly said back then, yes, Sister of Battle exists. Yes, Sister of Silence exists, but the Ultramarines are the main characters. We want to be the main characters. It's never about just inclusion. It's about taking the center spot and kicking everyone else out. True, the Vengeance. What gets me is the group they are doing this for doesn't even play or watch it. They don't even play or watch it. They don't play the games. They couldn't care less. Kittens grow up to be cats. Cats grow up to be lions. Lions will eat you unless you teach them discipline and draw a clear line. They can't use salami tactics to cross. I don't remember a YouTube video, I guess. I remember now. Dino, which YouTube video? Olive, no. So my thinking currently on this, or at least the way that I understand it at the moment, is the lawsuits in 2019, 2020 broke Blizzard. Actually, 2018, 2019 broke Blizzard. If you listen to, there's a podcast where Bobby Kotick speaks about the lawsuits. And he basically says, after a very long investigation from the California government, the Californian government found that there was no wrongdoing. There's no wrongdoing. Blizzard did nothing wrong. The agreement, according to Bobby Kotick, to pay first 15 million and then 50 million was basically the California government saying, hey, if we just say we found nothing wrong and we just let you go, people are going to lose their minds. This become a huge story now, so you're going to have to do something to show that, oh, we're sorry, we're going to help the victims, right? Because they found a couple of people, but no widespread mistreatment of employees was ever uncovered anywhere. So Bobby Kotick actually explains this was a targeted thing by the unions in California. The unions wanted the workers of Blizzard to unionize. The problem is that games developers didn't really want to unionize. And so what they did was they created this fake controversy, this fake thing, so that the union guys could actually move in. And that was the issue, right? That was the issue. So, yeah, I think personally, during the lawsuits, a lot of really woke developers got their hands on the reins at Blizzard, and they are running the show now. So, yeah, I don't think we have to. There's nothing much to look forward to. But all right, next story. Next story, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to the lands opposite of woke. I'm not sure if we're going to better lands, but we are going to different lands. Better will be determined at a later date. We'll see, right? So Elon Musk has declared war on the gaming industry. He reaffirms plans to start new AI video game studio to make games great again. Now, I read through the article and he didn't say anything to anyone. Basically just, so you have Musk responding here, too many game studios that are owned by massive corporations. XI is going to start an AI game studio to make games great again. This was the first time he ever announced this. Since then, they've done some work on Grok 3, so you can now actually tell Grok 3 to make a game. So you can literally tell Grok 3 to make Pong, and it'll make Pong, right? The graphics aren't really that good. I have a showcase here of Grok doing it.
Give me a restart function.
Right, so this is a game that's made just
guys,
by
back today
Grok.
to show you how to build this video game using only Grok. Simple tutorial. I promise you, you don't even need to know any code. Here's how. Open up a Grok window. Tell Grok exactly what you want in words. No programming ability required. So what I said here was I wanted an Asteroid style game. I want to use only a number of files that I specified. So some images, some PNG files, some sound, .wav and .mp3. These you can easily download or make your own sounds. Go crazy. And then very, very simple instructions. I want a game called Doge Defender. I want to display the score in billions with every enemy as $10 million. Give me a restart function, allow some weapon upgrades, and if I win if I get $1 billion, okay? Pretty simple. Let Grok do its thing. Very quickly, it creates HTML. You're gonna hit this copy button, once it's done, of course. You're gonna paste it into whatever text editor you like and rename it as index.html.
So this is what Grok 3 can do now, right? Now ChatGPT can do similar things and has been able to do similar things, although after speaking to a couple of people that have been doing programming, ChatGPT couldn't do this. It could do, like, if you wanted very specific things done, it could tell you how to do it and it could give you the code, but it not to this level. This is sort of like another leap in what AI is going to be capable of doing. I think ChatGPT is going to do it the same, probably with the next update. They'll be able to do the same stuff. So this stuff is happening, right? This stuff is coming. AI games is becoming a bigger and bigger reality. I remember a few months ago, NVIDIA showcased how they're going to be able to allow AI to literally make modern day graphic video games with you just telling the AI what you want it to do. So for example, they showcased this thing where the guy leaves his house, mines a node, picks up the goods from the node, and then goes back to his house. And all of that was just told to the AI. They just told the AI to make a house, make a guy, make him look this way, and then have him mine the node, and it just did it. Right? So right now, you still need artists to create the art because the AI needs to be able to draw from somewhere. You still need animations. If you want to make it look unique, you're going to need animators. But a lot of the heavy lifting is starting to be replaced by AI. Right? You'll very quickly be able to let the AI run the combat simulation for you because you don't know how to do it, for example. So what we are heading into, definitely, from this future that you see with Elon Musk's studio, we are definitely heading towards it. I want to be very clear. Actually, let me ask before we continue, for how many of you is this a warning sign? How many of you don't want this to happen in the video game industry? What I'm not sure about is if this will ever be able to produce something that isn't slop. I don't. I'm split. Elon Musk is a gamer, and he will make gaming AI. Old Go Bones, how you doing? It depends on what it produces. If you think games are broken now. So here's the thing. And I hope that I can change your mind, but if I can't, that's perfectly fine, perfectly valid. You're allowed to feel the way that you feel about this, because everything we're doing now is basically speculative, right? We don't know what the truth of this is. This could be catastrophic for the video game industry, or it could not. But here's my take on it. Technology is always going to technology. It's always going to move. There's nothing we can do. You and I cannot slow it down. We cannot stop it. You cannot stand in front of a dam with holding back thousands of tons of water as the cracks start to appear. At some point, that water is going to break through, and it's going to clear everything in its path. And that's pretty much been true for all of human history. The other day, we were talking about this on stream. You go back to the printing press. The printing press led to a lot of people being fired. You go back to the discovery of oil, right? You go back to every single major discovery in the history just recently. You go back to the internet. The internet replaces phones almost immediately. It replaces fax immediately. It replaces email, replaces the entire post office pretty much immediately. No matter what you do, technology will always lead to major layoffs. This is just the nature of technology. But in the wake of that, this is sadly not something we can really quantify. But the amount of jobs that has been created as a result of the internet far outweighs the amount of jobs that were lost as a result of the introduction of the internet. The same with email. The same with pretty much the printing press. All of these technologies have the immediate downside of a lot of people lose their jobs, but the upside that they create a lot more jobs in the long term as time goes on. So AI in and of itself isn't a bad thing. It's going to have some bad immediate effects, but those effects and their long term, or the longevity of these effects, that remains to be seen. There's another story here as part of this conversation with Microsoft CEO that predicts that AI generated games are the CGI moment for the games industry. So what CGI became for movies, they believe AI is going to be for video gaming. Because Microsoft has also just started their own studio called MUSE that is 100% based around AI and making video games for AI. So basically you have Elon Musk and Microsoft currently running balls to the wall with this. They want AI video games as quickly as possible. Now, from my perspective, I think one of the first things that I think might confuse a lot of people is when we say AI video games, what exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about games that are entirely created by AI? In that scenario, I'm right on your side. This is gonna suck, right? Because there's something about art. I don't know if you've ever seen artwork that's created by AI, but it lacks that soul that a painting has that's actually painted by a normal human being. You know, when you look at a Van Gogh, for example, there's a human element to a Van Gogh that no AI can ever really capture because it's not human. Right? It can understand what makes art art, and you can tell it to paint the Chrysler building as Van Gogh, but it doesn't understand because in order for art to be art, it requires perspective, and your perspective is determined by who you are as a human. As you're looking at that Chrysler building, the filters through which you observe that building is going to impact how you put it down on the canvas. So games that just is created by this AI is never going to have that human element. No matter what you try to do with it, it can't have that human element because it lacks the perspective to understand what a human being would really go through in that moment. So there is one place that AI can't really do the heavy lifting. But when it comes to things like coding, when it comes to things like optimization, when it comes to things like replication, I think AI can be an incredible tool. Imagine if you could have studios that used to employ 300 people, or imagine if you could have studios that could make games that used to require 300 people, but now this small little AA studio with only 40 developers can make that game. You know, you look at a game like Cyberpunk 2077 that had almost 400 developers. Imagine if a small AA studio with 40 developers could make Cyberpunk using AI. Because yes, they don't have 100 artists to make all of those assets, but thanks to AI, the artist only has to make some of the assets to provide the style and the visual effects that they're going for, and the AI can then make what the artist made and can replicate that and redesign it, and then the artist just needs to sort of adapt where adaptations are required. So what you need to think about more is, imagine a studio that is run with AI as every single developer's personal assistant. So where a developer used to do everything on their own, they now have a personal assistant right there, right next to them. Anything that sort of menial labor that the developer wouldn't usually spend weeks trying to sift through, the AI just does for you, while you can spend your time actually writing a better script or actually making a better thing. I do think that is the future. I'm saddened to say I don't think that that's what Elon and Microsoft is going to do. I think they're going to be, in every single technology, there's always those who sort of go first and completely screw it up until the other people come and then do it correctly. And I have a feeling that maybe Elon Musk and Microsoft are going to be the ones to completely screw it up. They're going to go, oh, we can just tell this AI, make me Witcher 3, but don't use any of the copyrighted stuff, and it's going to do it perfectly. And then it's going to turn out it doesn't do it perfectly. It's a complete nonsense game. No one likes it. But that's what they're going to try and do, because, again, if you just go from the perspective of money, if you could make Witcher 3 just using one developer, literally just one dude typing what needs to happen, think of the money you'd make, right? Like, if you then hire 300 developers, it means you're making 300 games a year just with these 300 developers, right? So they'd be thinking of the money. They're going to realize that those games are dead. They don't have soul. They lack the beauty of, like, anyone that's ever played Mass Effect 1, 2, or 3, anyone that's ever played Witcher 3, there's a certain poetry to those games. They're not just games. They are masterful narrative works. They are incredible. And I don't think AI can do that. And I also don't necessarily know if that is what they have in mind for AI. They might be thinking along the same lines as I am, right, about this stuff. So that's sort of where I think the industry is going. But if you think that you're going to be able to stop AI, I highly doubt that anyone will be able to stop it. Disagree entirely on the whole soul thing. Some AI art is like that. Some is phenomenal, but I do believe those pieces are worked on by the user collaboratively. I make a lot. It's come a long way. Shay, but there, you are working with the AI to make the art. So you are providing the perspective that the AI lacks. Remember, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the AI doing all of it themselves. So you literally just sit down and say, hey, I want a pirate game. Make me a pirate game. And then suddenly the AI just makes you a pirate game. There, the AI wouldn't be able to do that because it doesn't know how to do that, right? It doesn't understand the human perspective, what would make it fun for humans. It's never going to be able to do this. AI won't overtake gaming. You know why? If AI can do that, why should gaming companies exist if average Joe can make a game? Right, so here's the thing. I think the future of gaming, I do think AAA is done. Okay, so prediction time. You guys can check back with me in 20 years and tell me, haha, you were wrong. Or I'm going to go, ha, I was right. I don't believe that there's going to be a single AAA developer left in the next 20 years. I say 20 purely because there's a lot of AAA developers that still have billions of dollars, so they could probably last for another 20 years. I think AAA is done, and the reason for it is I think with the technological advancements in video game design, the future is going to be far more decentralized. So you will theoretically be in a position where the average Joe can just make their own game. The question is going to be, will the average Joe have the interest in sitting down and actually writing their own game? Because remember, there's still going to be some work that needs doing. You're going to have to physically tell the AI how you want the game to play, what you want, where you want it, in this position, what's the quest, So you're still going to have to run through the game personally. It's still going to take you a couple of years to make. But it is going to be a thing where more and more people are going to be in a position to make their own games. Rather than now, where it is still very much, if you don't spend hundreds of hours learning how to make video games, you're probably not making video games. At least not anytime soon. GTA 6 will blow up AAA, or will it also be screwed up? No. I don't think it will. I don't think any one game is going to blow up AAA. I think AI. I think technology is going to blow up AAA. Think about what made AAA what made AAA a necessity. The first AAA studios really evolve during the physical media era, where you physically needed a lot of money to put your game in the hands of players, right? Because if you didn't make the disc and the little box for the disc, no one would be able to play your video game. It was before the internet. This cost money. Every disc that you print requires money. So you needed a publisher that could front you that money so that you could actually get your game into the hands of the players. But now remember, storefronts had limited space. A store couldn't put every single game in front of the eyes of the players. And so a publisher would not only be able to pay for the discs and pay for the boxes, but a publisher would also be able to advertise. In other words, pay these storefronts to put your game first so that everyone can see it. This was super important, which meant there were very few publishers, but the publishers that there were massive. Then comes Steam. And Steam basically revolutionizes the publisher industry. Not immediately, not overnight, but nowadays, you have hundreds of publishers. Some small, some large, it's sort of all over the place. You have some publishers that are exclusive indie publishers. They don't publish AA or AAA. They only publish indie. And they're able to exist because it's become so much cheaper to publish video games. You no longer have to print all of these discs. You no longer have to pay for all of this physical advertisements. You can now just make a quick cinematic, pay YouTube a meager sum of money, and some people get to see your game. Most of these studios have now figured out all you do is you send the keys out to a bunch of streamers and hope that some of them play it and love it, and bam, Bob's your uncle. Now your game is successful. So it's become a lot easier. The next step of this already led to the explosion that we have today with indie developers. Guys, if we go back just 15 years ago, how many indie developers do you think existed 15 years ago? I'd be willing to bet 90% less than what exists today. We have thousands, if not tens of thousands of indie developers today, developing games every single day. There are hundreds of thousands of games being uploaded to Steam every single year from indie developers, people who previously would never have been able to make a video game in their lives because of all of the barriers that needed to be overcome. And all of these barriers were overcome. Now, the one final thing that AAA had over indie developers and AA studios was money. They had way more money, and this meant that they could make games that were a hell of a lot better looking than what you would get from your AA studios. Just because they could hire more artists, they could hire more developers, so they could make it faster and make it look prettier. AI is replacing that. Technology is replacing that. You now have smaller studios that can make much better looking games and for much cheaper. A great example of this is this game. Do you see this? You guys have seen this trailer, right? Brian, pretty much, yes. AI will do to gaming what YouTube did to regular TV and movies. You've seen this trailer. This game has been in development for 2 years. Now, for those of you that don't exactly know how game development works, the first year of game development tends to be a very small group of developers. So usually around 10, maybe 15, if that much, maybe even 5, because they're just scoping the game at that point. And then towards the end of your first year, you'll start to scale up production. Usually by the second year of production, you're at full scale now. Your studio is at scale. Now you have the developers that you have, and everything's being made. From here, they might hire a few more people, so usually between 30, 40, maybe more people, to sort of expand on the game, make the game bigger, maybe do some more side quests or whatever. But usually at the 2-year mark, your studio, whatever the team was going to be, is where it's going to be. It's not going to double or triple, except if you're Ubisoft, then maybe it will triple. Or if you're Blizzard, it's going to go to 9,000. But if you have a studio that's functioning correctly, after 2 years of development, you're out of pre-production, you're in full-blown development. Now you have your studio up and running, the team is running, everything's being made. This game has been in development for 2 years. So it's supposed to be at the sort of saturation point. This is where the developers are. They have 90 people working on this game. 90. 9-0. I guarantee you one of the reasons they're able to do that is AI. AI and technological advancements in video games. They're able to do it with fewer people because the tools that exist allow for a single developer to do way more work than what would previously have been available. Now, it could still be that they're going to go up to 150, even 200 developers, but that's still a far cry less than the average 350 developers that we see in a lot of AAA studios, and sometimes even some AA studios, like Larian Studios, 350 developers. So clearly, it's already happening. It's just a matter of time before it becomes the standard. Nowadays, a game doesn't need to be good for me to like it. It just needs to be different. Same as Industrial Revolution and manufacturing. Yeah, it's literally the same as that. Time for a cool vampire game since Vampire. This looks like it's going to be a good game. But yeah, you are effectively looking at the Industrial Revolution. That is what AI is. It's going to revolutionize how games are made. And I personally think that's a good thing. I think we should have that. I'm not with you that robots will never learn, but that's fundamentally a belief thing. Do you think humans are much than flesh machines or not? Can anything be learned or not? I don't believe in magical spirits that are something that can never be captured. Human experience, in my humble opinion, is also just a collection of your past experiences and the evaluation of those. So Nagria, I fundamentally reject all of that because I'm a Christian. So I don't believe that human beings are just little robots. And there's no evidence that we are just little robots that can just learn things. There's clearly something different about us than what there are about animals. But you're welcome to have your opinion on that. I don't mind that. And people just need to learn how to use and work with it. Learn and work. Yeah, I do think it's going to take time, but it will happen. There's nothing you can do about it. It will definitely happen. Once woke devs mastered AI, they can just keep pushing more wokeness. Yes, but the developers that don't like the woke stuff can now start making their own games. They no longer need to stick around with these studios that keep dragging their shit down. They can now just enjoy themselves. Nix, what are you talking about? Nagre, you say I'm not religious, I'm a scientist, as if those two are not mutually exclusive. Or those two are mutually exclusive. The entire scientific profession was built by Christians. So, your entire industry stands on the back of Christians. So you can have, you can be a scientist and a Christian. There's plenty of scientists who are Christian that I listen to every single day. So, I will bust open the floodgates like 3D printing and indie music and self-publishing books and art distribution. Probably. I agree. We are definitely not robots. Seeing people as robots is that not a Karl Marx point of view? Let's not start. Like, I don't think Nagria was making a point here that, you know, I don't think that's Nagria was making a very specific point towards AI and limited to the AI discussion. So I don't think Nagria was making a point here that, oh, humans are just robots and you can reprogram them to do whatever. That would be a different discussion. I think Nagria was genuinely just trying to make an argument that they think, at least, that AI can be programmed to eventually become like humans and do the things that humans. So basically, we're talking about almost like an artificial general intelligence, if you will. Not quite on that level, but to that extent, or at least to some extent. I don't think they were making a bigger argument about. So let's not start attributing to that. Abaddon, how you doing? As robots would be great. Band name. Woke will be done in games soon, though. Now you see a new problem being created. When there is a game reveals and people will see a black main character, they already yell that the game sucks and it's woke. So we could go too far in the wrong direction again. Azazel, so this is part of the reason I try on my channel to be balanced. I try not to become ideologically captured because I'm well aware of that. And if if you've been following my content for any amount of time, you will know that I've been warning about that for quite a while now. We should be careful that we don't go too far that we become the enemy, because that will happen. If we just keep hunting and hunting and hunting, we're soon going to destroy the things that used to make games brilliant. Remember, we want developers to make the games that they want to make, to follow their creativity, and to bring us good games. What we don't want is for politics to be forced into those games and to be forced into those decisions. That goes both ways. That goes to the right, that goes to the left. Just make games that you want to make. If I don't want to play your game, like for example, if you brought out a game that mocks Jesus, I'm not playing that game, right? But if you as a developer truly want to make a game that mocks Jesus, I won't stop you. That's your choice. You're allowed to make the games that you want to make. As long as I know that that decision wasn't driven by some DI program that allows you to claim taxes if you do those things. And that the people that made that game are there because they're the best people to make that game and not there because they happen to tick a certain box in a form. If those things are present, I want developers to make the games that they truly want to make, because that's what brought Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. That's what gave us Bloodborne. That's what gave us the great games that we all grew up playing. Is developers making games that they want to make. And I'm happy to settle for that. Quality great, but Game of Thrones had zero real-world references, at least not directly. That's the main problem. So, often the way I describe it is there is a difference between in-game politics and politics in video games, right? In-game politics is always going to be there, because technically speaking, almost everything is politics. Politics is literally just the government of people. All politics really is the relationship of people to one another and to the rulers or the ruling class. So technically, no matter what game you make, there's going to be an element of politics in it, right? No matter how far you go to one side or the other. When it starts to break down for me is, and I always use this as sort of just like a shorthand definition of wokeness. If I can tell within the first 5 minutes who the developers voted for, your game's woke. If you put pronouns in the character creation screen, there's a reasonable chance that you're woke. Because no one actually gives a shit about pronouns. Everyone, or at least most people, understand if you make a male character, your pronouns are going to be he, his. If you make a female character, your pronouns are going to be she, her. Everyone understands this. So if you add pronouns into the character creation screen, that's already a red flag for me. I'm like, why are we doing this? Right? And the same is true if you go body type A and B. Everyone knows that it's called male and female. Why do you not want to call it male and female? This is another red flag. And so if I see those red flags, I already know that there's politics at play here that I don't want to see in my video games. They have no place there. And if you are going to add those things to the game, then make sure that they matter. So, for example, if you want to add pronouns to the game, then make sure that the NPCs are actually using those pronouns. Because, I mean, you did say that you want to create immersion, right? So then surely those pronouns should be used. The issue is, these days, that's not what happens in games. You choose your pronouns and it's never mentioned again. Ever. You never again hear the pronouns in the game. But you chose them because they were somehow important, even though they're not important to the game at all. You choose your pronouns in a game and they refer to you for the rest of the game as champion. And you're like, well, why did I choose the pronouns if I'm just being referred to as champion the whole game? Right? This is the sort of... It tells you that this is fake. You weren't actually trying to increase immersion. You were just sort of playing to the base of whoever you thought you were going to please. And I have no time for that. So that's where I sort of draw the line. It will swing back hard this time. The Libs didn't give up power when it was on the way back. Now it's in full swing. I hate to agree with you here, but I do think you're right. I do think you're right. It is going to swing back hard. And I think as much as I do wish that it would land in the middle and politics would just no longer matter in video games, that would be foolish of me to suggest that it would. Because we both know that we all know that it wouldn't. The pendulum is called a pendulum because when it swings, as far as it went to the one side, it usually goes further to the other side. And the left acted as if they were never going to lose power. Right? This was their biggest mistake. The left thought that they were never losing power. They were going to be in control forever. And so they dealt with everyone that disagreed with them as if they're on the way out and they're dying. So now the right is having the time of their lives. And they're going to ride that pendulum all the way to the very tippity top of the other side. Because they can. Because, you know, I think there's a lot of emotions involved here as well. Was a teacher. They only referred I was a teacher 2 or 3 times during the whole game. Why did they put the option? Why wasn't it utilized? Because it didn't actually matter. I think it's more the point that even now they're doubling down on stuff. Look at the recent DMC conference farce. I'll look at Akko's Discord in the politics channel. I haven't even been to the politics channel in Discord. Is it bad? How many of you, and you can be honest, there's no judgment from me, but how many of you really want the wokies to suffer? Like, how many of you really can't wait to put the screw to the wokies and just keep going until they feel the pain? I don't know if I would phrase it that way. Sign me up. Swabbers, how you doing? I'd get the bellows out and fire it up. Bring them to the light and slap some sense into them. Me? Alright, so most of you really want that. For me, I mostly want to build bridges. Not to the wokies. I don't think they can be saved. To those who are anti-woke but don't yet know it. I want to build a bridge and show them why they should be supporting us and not the other side. So I'm not as interested necessarily in revenge. I'm not interested in revenge at all. I'm interested in hopefully winning as many people as possible to our side so that when eventually the pendulum swings again, we have control over it. I was thinking in my head, even the people that are gay, lesbian, etc., they probably don't even like the LGBT woke and all of that because the hate against them is rising on historic levels because of those orgs. Well, I can just tell you from the gay people that I know, I don't know a single gay person that supports any of the woke stuff. No, not a single one. So I wouldn't be surprised if most gay people don't like this stuff. Why can't we say something about their game? Cody, which game? You say if you, I don't even see politics in Echo's Discord. Is it a hiding as a thread under humor? Shay, so in order to gain access to the political channel, you need to talk to a mod. They have to open the politics channel for you. It's just so they can verify that it's not a bunch of bots, and it's actual people that's hanging out in there, because you need a special rank in order to chat in politics. I don't care about woke in my games, but just like cringe dialogue, Christians shouldn't complain when they play GTA 5 shooting, killing, and going to the strip club. To be fair, Christians aren't really complaining about that stuff. At least most aren't. They just either won't do all of those things or they won't play the game. I want to see them fail hard so they can learn that they are wrong and change their ways, or at least keep their crap to themselves. You see, my thing is I want them to learn that they are wrong. So in that sense, there is a part of me that wants it to fail. Yes. Because I want them to realize that they are wrong. And the only way I think they can realize that they are wrong is when they feel what it feels like to lose, and to lose badly. So, yeah, there is a part of me that wants them to kind of, feel a bit of the hurt. But only insofar as it can open eyes and teach people what most people like. Because a lot of these people believe what they believe purely because they think that's what everyone believes. They just sort of accept that as the truth because they've never been challenged on it. Can you explain why it is wrong to include people? I fundamentally don't understand why it's better to separate classes, races, sexualities. So, Nagria, no one has ever said that it's wrong to include people. Very few anti-woke gamers or normal gamers want to exclude anyone or has a problem with including people. As I said a little while ago, the problem isn't inclusion. No gamers cared when black characters, when Captain Anderson in Mass Effect showed up, no gamers were like, oh, who's this black dude in my video game? I don't like this at all. People loved Captain Anderson. He's your dude. Like, he's your bro. Right throughout the whole game, Captain Anderson is your bro. You like Captain Anderson. Gamers didn't care about this stuff. It's the second it became include everyone except for white men. That's when gamers said, hold up, what the are you talking about? We're white. Why are we not allowed? And then we heard, oh, you racist sons of bitches, you just don't want people to play video games. It's like, no, we don't care that people are playing video games. We just don't understand why we are constantly the enemy. Why is everyone attacking us the whole time? Why are we the problem? We are the majority and we want to play video games. We don't want to deal with this nonsense. That's where this whole thing came. Well, that's where this whole thing came from. It was never about gamers being against inclusion. Gamers didn't care about this shit. In fact, I would say gamers were the most inclusive people in the world. Because as long as you were good with your video game, most gamers couldn't care whether you sucked, didn't suck, took it up the bum, didn't take it up the bum. Gamers couldn't care less. If you were good at the game, you were good at the game and they liked playing with you. Your sexuality, your gender, none of that shit mattered. It's once we became the enemy. That's when gamers started to go, wait, screw you, bitch. Like, I don't want this. So yeah, that's really what this war is about. Chris, and I absolutely agree with you there. No, Nagria, but this is where you're wrong. You see, the left has this incredible ability, and they've been doing it for a long time, and it's part of... There's a book written on this. I can't remember what it's called, but you can find many YouTube videos about it as well. The way you conquer a society, the first step is demoralization. You want to demoralize the society. So if you want to conquer a culture, demoralize said culture. One of the steps in demoralizing a culture is to change the meaning of words. So a word that everyone agreed means this suddenly no longer means that. So the word inclusion simply means everyone's included. But the word inclusion no longer means that everyone is included. Because the word inclusion has been changed by the left to mean a hell of a lot more than just everyone is included. It used to be everyone has the ability to play with or to be a part of it. If they want to be a part of it, they can be a part of it. Now, it's something more akin to everyone must be included equally, regardless of the demographics of the society that they live in. Everyone must have equal representation, except, of course, for white men who shouldn't be represented at all, or at least as little as possible. But then also, every single joke, every single storyline, every single thing we pursue is at the expense of white people. To be inclusive also means to be communist or socialist. To be inclusive also means that you hate capitalism. To be inclusive also means that you hate white people. It means that you hate America. It means that you hate the West. If you are inclusive, you must also therefore be this. This is why you have literally Pink News, the gay outlet, labeling Douglas Murray a gay man, married gay man. I believe he's married. He's a gay man and he's married. Pink News had an entire article why Douglas Murray isn't a gay man. Even though he's married to a man, Pink News says he isn't a gay man because he's a conservative. And that's why he cannot be a gay man. Because gay men are not conservative. Gay men are liberals. They're Democrats. You see, so you take a word that everyone understands to mean one thing, and you twist the word to mean something completely different. Like diversity, for example. When you talk to any reasonable human being and you ask them, is diversity a good or a bad thing? Everyone will tell you it's a good thing. But what are we talking about when we say diversity? Because skin color does not guarantee diversity. You could have a black guy. I always use this example. If you took a white dude that grew up in the suburbs in LA and you take a black dude that grew up in the suburbs in LA, do you think that they're going to be that different to one another? The answer is no. There's going to be very little diversity in that room. Sure, you have two people of like slightly different shades, but they're going to think exactly the same. Their life experiences were exactly the same. But then I can take a white dude from Texas, a white dude from Australia, a white dude from Japan that grew up in Japan. I don't know what he was doing here. Maybe his family was like, his dad was in the military or whatever. And I take a white dude from South Africa. Suddenly, I have a shit ton of diversity in that room. Because me, the white guy from South Africa, has a completely different experience and perspective than the white dude from Texas or the white dude from Australia or the white dude from Japan. We think about the world differently. We're going to attack problems differently. So the word diversity isn't a bad thing. But the word diversity these days is no longer that. The word diversity again means everyone except white people. If you believe in diversity, you hate capitalism. If you believe in diversity, you automatically vote Democrat. If you believe in diversity, you don't know what a woman is. That's, of course, another one. If you believe in inclusion, you also don't know what a woman is. This is another one of those just add-ons to the meaning of words. Oh, I'm inclusive. Oh, what's a woman? I don't know. Woman is whatever. Don't know why. Just as soon as I said I'm inclusive, I suddenly forgot what a woman is. Even though for thousands of years, everyone knew what a woman was. We don't know anymore. It's completely, like, I just forgot it. That's the problem with this. They keep changing the words as they see fit. Let me just quickly see here. Azazel. I'd like to say something about the left. Since I'm a socialist myself, I want to say that things like woke and immigration things are not the left. The left is dead and doesn't exist anymore. We want equality and fairness of working conditions, wage fairness, health services, living conditions, and opportunities. We want a more state-controlled economy so capitalists can't F up the prices and make way too much profit and F everyone else over and own everything. So, Azazel, I would ask you to go look at every single sector of the economy that you dislike, that you think capitalists screwed up. And then tell me how much the government is involved in those sectors. And then tell me if it was capitalism that screwed up those sectors or if it was socialism. Because socialism is just state-controlled. I guarantee you there's not a sector in the entire world's economy that you can point to that isn't socialist. I'll go so far as to say I guarantee that you cannot name a single capitalist nation on this earth. Not one. Doesn't exist. There are no capitalist nations on this earth. Not one. American healthcare isn't capitalist. The government, the United States government is the main player in the healthcare system of America. You have Medicaid, you have Medicare, you have a government system with so many regulations that it makes it near impossible for competition to remove the large corporations that offers the insurance. You have a guarantee from the government to pay any and all medical insurance companies that go bankrupt, as well as a government guarantee to all hospitals that should they go bankrupt, the government will bail them out because hospitals are important. So hospitals can charge whatever the hell they want because they know even if the people can't pay it, and even if the banks go bankrupt, the government will bail them out. The banks don't care who they give giant amounts of debt to go into medical debt, because if they go bankrupt, the government will bail them out. Socialism, not capitalism. I myself name one country that has socialism that is good. White adjacent. This baffled me so damn hard. I was about ready to slap someone because that's so damn racist too. Oh yeah, Damazal, you're Hispanic, right? Yeah, that's just you're basically just white. You're white light, I guess we should say, or white with an extra step. Oh, that was the funniest thing ever. Who was the lefty that basically just said, Asian just means white adjacent? Brian, capitalism doesn't rule any nation. There are no capitalist nations on this earth. Every single nation on this earth is a socialist nation. Because every single nation on this earth, and it's so easy, like, if you actually understood it, the average taxpayer in the world pays 70% of their entire income to the state. That's average, worldwide. 70% of all your money goes to the state. 100%. You are less free today to do what you want to do than peasants were that lived under kings. The state controls every element of your life. It tells you when you can put your trash out, when your trash needs to go back inside, or else you get fined. It tells you how much water you can use. And if you don't use that much water, it fines you. If you use too much, it fines you. It tells you how much electricity you can use. It tells you how to do this. It tells you how to do this. If you want to open a business, you need their permission. If you want to open a bank account, you need their permission through regulation. The state controls every aspect of every single life of every single citizen in the world. You do not have capitalism. What most nations on this earth has is corporatism. Corporatism is a function of socialism, not of capitalism. Because to have corporatism, you need very big government. Because you need a government that is capable of protecting the corporations from failing. A capitalist government wouldn't have the size or power to protect the corporations from failing. Because in a capitalist society, the government isn't allowed to interfere in the economy. So because you have very large governments that can protect the corporations can run the society on behalf of the government. Zazel, communism has never existed because communism can never exist. The truth of communism is that its real form is socialism, and that's because the father of communism was a moron. I hate to call people morons, but sorry, Karl Marx was a moron. Anyone that's ever read the Communist Manifesto and has been honest about it and not just want freebies from the government will immediately know that what Karl Marx basically said was, first the state takes power, then yada yada yada, and then the people take power. He never actually filled in the middle bit. He goes, okay, the state needs to take power because people are greedy and we need to get people to not be greedy. Then he goes, and now people aren't greedy, so now people can control the government. Now people can control their own lives. Every communist system runs into phase 2, where the government now rules because the people need to stop being greedy, and then just never gets out of phase 2 because the people can never stop being greedy, including the very people running the government, because they're greedy too. And that's why communism can never exist. You're not an ant, it will not work. You are a human. Communism is antithetical to human existence. It cannot work in humanity. Anyone that wants that is playing with fire, because here's what's going to happen if you ever get your country and you make it this communist utopia. You're going to look back after 40, 50 years at millions of bodies. Because every single communist dictator the world over looked back on their history and they saw millions of bodies. Because the utopia is just one more massacre away. We just need to kill one more person, and we'll have utopia. And it just never happens. We never get to utopia. We can never get there because people will never not be greedy. Greed is what makes people do everything. Brian, the 100%. But the problem with Marx's critiques of capitalism was that he was critiquing socialism. Because what Marx didn't understand is that all of his theoreticals, the reason the Bolsheviks had to take power in Russia was because all of the things that Marx said would happen wasn't what happened. It didn't happen. And so they had to force power. Because what Marx saw was that the corporations would eventually take over, but what Marx failed to see is that the corporations cannot take over without government. You need government in order for a corporation to actually take over. Because in a chaotic system, it is impossible for one corporation to control everything. Especially if that corporation does not have a monopoly on force. If that corporation doesn't have a monopoly on violence, they won't be able to take full power. That's why, even in a capitalist society, we say the government gets the guns and everyone else gets to play without the government. The government just keeps the guns. We play amongst ourselves. That's supposed to be capitalism. But we're getting way off topic here. This is a political conversation that I've been having a lot. And I think to no avail, because I think a lot of people ideologically believe things. And it's difficult to break from ideological beliefs. I know, because I used to be a communist. I know how hard it was for me to admit that communism is wrong and it doesn't actually work. It took a long time. It took me almost 3 years to realize that I'm not a communist because it doesn't make sense. But it took me a long time. I didn't want to accept it. But if you actually research it, you'll understand why communism doesn't work and can never work. I have a lost story that I want to share with all of you. This is a fun one, by the way. I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. So, you know, this new woke game that's coming out, right? Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, Tape 1. This is from Don't Nod. Can you guys see the score here? This is a short video. We're not, or short discussion. We're not going to do a long discussion here. This is PC Gamer, by the way. Did you guys see the cinematic for this? Or do I need to show you the cinematic for this? Brian, thank you so much for hanging out, and also for the discussion and the debate and the disagreements and being civil in those disagreements. I really appreciate that, sir. Take care of yourself and have fun. Lost Records, funny blood spot. What I see is a Life is Strange clone, nothing more. Gurzala, yes, but I want you to focus on the score. 8 out of 10. Then I want to take you down to what they themselves write. Now, I read the whole article, sadly. Wasn't fun. But here's why the mainstream media simply cannot be protected and should not be protected and should be called out. I thought 80 is 80 out of 100. That's 8 out of 10, right? But yeah, it's 80 out of 100. So here you have, while it's easy to say Lost Records is a stand by me for girls, it is not creating quite the same fantasy. It is not a purely affirming mirror, romanticized but not idealized. Swan's called a lesbo fatso freak. This is one of the characters. I had to read about Swan. Wasn't fun. She makes all these tapes of her cats and her toys because she's alone. And when she has friends, she makes videos of them because she never found those mirrors to her girlhood at the movie palace. Maybe that's just been lost to memory. Maybe part 2 will answer questions. So they're going into how the game doesn't make sense at all, by the way. Maybe that's just been lost to memory. Maybe part 2 will answer questions I don't even have yet. What Lost Records Bloom and Rage has set up is deeply compelling, though flawed. If you read through the actual article, they constantly go on and on about how a lot of things don't make sense and they don't quite understand the story. And it is all just a little bit weird. But then, of course, it ends with that girlhood is a thing where we all failed in our own way and that the perfect needle drop can make up for a clumsy confession. An 8 out of 10. Or an 80 out of 100. How do you give a game an 8 out of 10 when it's flawed? When you yourself in your entire bloody article write about how a lot of the things don't make sense and you don't quite understand the story and at parts the story feels a little awkward, you just blanket it with an 8 out of 10. If there are any parents in this chat, I desperately ask you, I beg you, do not let your daughters play this game. Do not let your teenage daughters play this game. I've watched the cinematic and I can tell you now, this entire game is for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is propaganda. It is to push this bisexual trope into a girl's mindset. Because the girls in this is struggling with their sexuality. They're struggling with life and becoming girls. And I can already guarantee you there's probably going to be some trans storylines in here. There's probably going to be all sorts of storylines in here. Because fundamentally, that is what this game is. It's meant to be propaganda. The vibe for the author, they just connected with the game more. Grisella, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. PC Gamer gives way too many 8 out of 10s to games that really don't deserve 8 out of 10s. Because the writer of the review didn't assign the rating. The editor assigned the rating. The writer just wrote the review. Chris, I don't even know if I agree with that. Because if you're a writer that writes an article and you have an idea for what the rating of the game should be, would you not disagree with your editor if they gave it an 8 out of 10 and you were like, wait, what? This game is definitely not an 8 out of 10. I don't want to put my name next to this. I don't believe that this is an 8 out of 10. This is at best a 7 or a 6 out of 10, not an 8. I feel like if you're a writer with any level of integrity, you're not going to allow an 8 out of 10 on a game that you review that you don't believe is an 8 out of 10. Annihilation, how you doing, bro? I think you're reaching, Echo. This game is for nostalgic teen at heart adults. No teenager of today will play that crap. I know that. I have two young teenager brothers. Grisella, you think so? Dude, you realize Don't Nod is an open propaganda center. Life is Strange is so full of propaganda, it is ridiculous. Every single episode from every single Life is Strange is some kind of modern day political BS. I want to say farce. This is Don't Nod. I'll give you a further bit of information if I am reaching. You can't even explain how Don't Nod is making its money. Like where the money for Don't Nod comes from. This is a studio that has lost 95% of its value over the course of its entire lifetime. It is worth almost nothing, and yet it continues to pump out video games at an alarming rate. At an alarming rate. There's something about this studio that is not right. That is not sitting right. I guarantee you this game is designed for teenagers. You can call it a coming of age if you want, and you can say, oh, it's for the 80s. Doubtful when you look at the dialogue, at least even in the cinematic, in the actual, like in the the cinematic. If you look at the dialogue in the cinematic, it's teenage dialogue. I highly doubt you're gonna put that dialogue in if you're aiming for 30-year-olds, 30-something-year-olds. You know, people who were born in the 80s. I got the sense more that it's almost like a Stranger Things kind of vibe, where it's aimed, it's sort of set in that period of the 80s, but it's clearly aimed at adults, right? It's more aimed at adults. So you could say, wait, but Stranger Things is about a bunch of kids in the 80s, so it's for kids. But then you look at the dialogue, and the dialogue makes it clear this is for adults, it's not really for kids. The same thing is true for this, just in reverse. You look at the game, you look at the setting, you go, okay, this is the 80s. Then you listen to the dialogue and you go, wait, but this is for kids. It's the same thing with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Dragon Age the Veilguard dialogue doesn't make any sense for adults. But when you listen to it and you think, how would I write a story for kids? Dragon Age the Veilguard goes, ooh. Okay, but that makes a lot of sense. This sounds like it would be written for kids. But Grisella, you're talking about your brothers. So just to be clear, we know for a fact that boys and girls do not play the same games. I've done so many videos on the actual studies that show it. All the records and all the nonsense that we have about, oh, the video game industry is 50-50 male-female, it's all bullshit. The overwhelming majority of PC and console gamers are male. Overwhelming. Because about 64 point something percent of women exclusively play mobile games. The overwhelming majority of women play casual video games, so games like this. Boys, on the other hand, overwhelmingly play sport games and action games. Shoot and kill, right? Games. And then comes this is the sad part. Most guys don't even play RPGs. I think it's only just under 30% of guys that actually play RPGs. Most guys play sport games or kick 'em and shoot 'em games. Which sucks, but it is what it is. So for girls, this game is right up their alley. It's perfect for girls. So yeah, you're right. Your teenage brothers are not going to play it. But it's not meant for them. It's meant for actual teenage girls. Patrick, wait, what's this now? Darrah guy, how you doing, bro? I know, Azazel. Swabbers, are you asking me if I'm 100% on the female gaming population? I'm one of the minority of women who likes to go into the other genres. I played with a lot of guy friends because back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was mostly guys who played. There are obviously, Pantera guy, thanks for the follow, man. Really appreciate you. There are obviously girls who do play these games, but it is the minority. I mean, I have videos on it if you want to go see the actual studies done on this. But overwhelmingly, PC and console is dominated by men. Overwhelmingly, it's men that play PC and console. Women, on the other hand, dominate mobile. And even when it comes to men that play mobile, very few men play exclusive mobile. The men who do play mobile will play mobile, but then also something else. I think it's difficult actually because there's very few studies done on how men play video games. I've done those studies too. I've looked those up. Very few researchers actually look at, so for example, what platforms do men actually play video games on? And I think the reason for it is you make a game, men will play it. Whereas there's a lot of research being funded because obviously studios are trying to figure out how do we get more girls to play our video games. Gazella, it could be that, obviously. Princess, how you doing? It could be that, obviously, but I feel like there's no real difference. Because remember, even if you purposefully hold those beliefs, it is still propaganda, right? Or it can still rise to the level of propaganda. It just happens to be personal propaganda. You are personally trying to propagandize young girls into all this nonsense. And I think it's specifically dangerous for girls because puberty tends to be hard for guys, but guys tend to almost get excited about puberty. I remember when I hit puberty, you're excited because you're finally going to have a male voice and you're finally going to have a beard and you're finally going to have... At first, it was a little unsettling. Like the first year or so, you're sort of like, what the hell's going on here? But then you sort of get excited because you're going to be a man now, right? And men can do things that boys can't. But I think for girls, specifically, puberty can be a very tough time. I've obviously never been a girl, so I have no idea. And I don't subscribe to the idea that I can just decide to be one. So I sadly have to stick to the whole, I don't know, the experience that girls go through. But I can just think through it. Right? You think about before puberty hits, girls tend to be stronger and bigger than men. Even faster. So right up until like early puberty, girls will even sometimes be faster than guys. Then they tend to even be built like guys. But then a girl goes through puberty and suddenly all the boys around her are shooting up. She's staying the same. She's starting to develop breasts. She's starting to get a female figure. Her face is full of pimples as her hormones are trying to figure stuff out. So I can imagine that it is a super confusing time for a young girl, right? To go through puberty. And I think especially in that time, you do not want to expose a girl to any sort of propaganda that tells her, for example, that all these feelings that she's feeling is because she's this. I don't think you should be making suggestions, especially during that time, because at this point she's going to be grasping at anything that explains why she's feeling so awkward. I think that's a dangerous one, right? You'd be surprised. Let's see what happens to the game. I mean, Life is Strange was played exclusively by teenage girls, or pretty much exclusively by teenage girls. So it's possible that this one will be pretty much exclusively played by teenage girls. But we'll have to wait and see, right? If that is actually... If I'm wrong, then I'm happy to be wrong. Me is streaming my PC games to my S24 Plus using Moonlight Sunshine and using a GameSir G8 controller. It's free PS Plus. Most people won't buy it. It's awesome laying in bed playing The Witcher 3 in glorious 120 FPS. Losing the singing voice through puberty though. I didn't lose my singing voice through puberty. I never actually went through that whole weird voice phase where your voice goes. Yeah, I never had that. I don't know why, but that never happened for me. I had a little bit of pimples, but just like every once in a while I had a spot somewhere that maybe, you know, I never had like full pimple face. I just, basically my puberty was getting a beard. That was it. I got a beard and I grew pubes. That's it. And then my puberty was done. So yeah, it was a pretty uneventful experience for me for the most part. No degrowth, that's tough. D was already too big, bro. I'm glad it didn't grow. Any new TV show you watching now? At the moment, I'm rewatching White. What's it called? Obviously, it will be something with white as a racist. Makes sense, right? No, White Collar. I'm watching White Collar at the moment. Really enjoying it. I'm just rewatching it because there's nothing else on. But I saw the new Reacher is out, so probably going to be watching the new Reacher now. We're done with Blacklist in the last season. The last season is shit for Blacklist, but the other seasons were brilliant, so I'm waiting for Last of Us Season 2. It's soon. I'm also looking forward to The Last of Us Season 2, but I'm not hopeful that it's going to be good. Any foundation today? No. I'm about to leave. I'm about to go make some dinner. I mean, we had our fun. It's time for me to go now. So during puberty was kind of bad because I was singing in children choir. Oh, damn. Was him rebuilding from that hotel? But all right, so I'm going to... I might be live tomorrow. Let me say might. But I'm... Thundercool, let me not make promises here. Because I have to edit the entire podcast from today with me and Rurikon. That might take a while, right? And I also don't know what videos are going to be tomorrow. If there's big news, I'm going to have to cover those first. Also, I do want to play Celesta. So if I don't make a video about it, if I don't live stream it, I will have a video about my thoughts. Right? So then I'll play it, record, and make a video telling you, this is what I thought of the game. Should you be excited for it? Should you not be excited for it? Whatever my takeaway is. Saturday podcast as I haven't seen anything. Did you want me to log in for that? Abaddon, no. Not yet. Not yet. Last of Us. This is basically the Saturday podcast. This is it now. Last of Us. The game is garbage. The series will be more garbage. Maddie, the first season I kind of liked, but only for the lore. I don't remember anything about the first season except for the lore. I kind of really liked where their zombies came from. The fact that it's this fungus thing. I like that. It's a different take on the lore, which I kind of appreciate. So, but yeah, I'll definitely try my best. Right. So I really do want to go live tomorrow. If I can get all of my work done before 4 o'clock, I will be live and we'll be playing some Celeste, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm one of the guys who played Life is Strange and loved it immensely, but only the first game, and I'm really against the woke agenda and narrative. The first game wasn't overt or bad in my opinion. Kajir, I think the first game came out when games were still just games, right? And the first game was wildly successful. A lot of people loved it. It was a very interesting, unique sort of idea for what a video game should be. But Don't Nod has clearly bought into the whole, culture war thing on a massive scale. So Z Vengeance, I made beef cheeks. That was a bitch. That was such a bitch. Next time I buy beef cheeks, I will be sure to tell my butcher to make sure that all of the silver skin is gone. I buy this beautiful beef cheek, right? It's gorgeous. And in the packet, you're looking at it and it's this red, beautiful red meat. And I turn it over and all of the fat, all of the silver skin is still on it. So it took me nearly an hour to take all of the silver skin off. Nearly an hour to take all of the silver skin off. And then I browned it, took it out, 2 onions into a pot, some salt, caramelized the onions. Then I added some garlic, some jalapeno, some coriander and sage. Then beef stock and curry powder and soy sauce, dark soy sauce. And then the meat went back into the pot and it's been on the stove just slowly braising, braising / cooking out for the last 3 hours or so. And so now I'm going to make a quick cornstarch slurry, add that in, thicken up the sauce, I'll first add some potatoes and some carrots, and then I'll add the cornstarch once the carrots get close to done, thicken up the sauce, and then I'll have that with sourdough toast. That'll be my meal for tonight. So I'll probably be eating in about, let's say, 45 minutes or so. Now I'm getting really hungry. Those are the old games we all enjoyed, had women, right, working on them. Actually, well, no one minds women working on video games. Who minds that women are working on video games? Nothing wrong with women writers. There's something wrong with activist writers of both genders. True. I would actually say, overall, most of the gaming industry is being screwed up by a lot of men writing silly shit. Wouldn't hurt to add a bit of ginger, in my opinion, because I didn't have ginger. The only reason there's no ginger in it. I went to my store cupboard and I had no ginger. And I didn't have time to go and buy ginger because the stream was about to start. So I was just like, oh man. All right, fine. No ginger then. But no, I wanted to add ginger. Just didn't get around to it. Pour in some Stonies. I don't have Stonies. I just have Pepsi Max. And I don't want to put Pepsi in it. All right, guys, goals. I really appreciate all of you for coming out. And of course, to all of you that supported, super chatted, memberships, I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Again, to Bird Talk with the 10 community subs. Absolutely love you, bro. Thank you so much for that. And to everyone that's just hung out and chatted and be part of the conversation, I really appreciate you. Obviously, look out for videos as you always do. Remember to hit those like buttons if you haven't already. And also just on the videos, keep hitting the like. It does help out. It does push the videos to more people. And I would love to get the videos out to more people because, hey, that's how I get paid at the end of the day. And I appreciate all of you when and if you do that. And if you don't want to do that, if you just want to enjoy the videos, that's also fine. I love you too. As always, be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Have a wonderful weekend. If I don't see you again before the weekend is over, I'll see you guys in the next.